Hello, folks. Welcome to Scratch the Surface. My name's EJ Scott. Today, my guest is Chris Tallman. He is the dad on Nickelodeon's The Thundermans. And I've known Chris for a long time, since I moved here to California in 2003. He's a good dude. I haven't seen him in a while, so it was good to catch up. This is a long podcast interview. Sometimes these long ones, I'm not expecting them. In my head beforehand, I think they'll be X length. And then something comes up, and we get into it, and we talk about it, and really, you know, it's an emotional thing. It's an important thing. It's a fascinating thing. So a couple of those things are that Chris's parents divorced when he was a kid because his dad is gay, and we got into that. And Chris is a dad of two daughters, and his second daughter was premature, and we get into that. Some scary stuff there. But we also have a lot of laughs, and Chris is a big nerd, just like me, but he may be a bigger... I think he's a much bigger nerd than me. I'm envious of his nerdiness. So we talk about a lot of nerdy stuff. He was roommates with Steve Agee. Steve Agee is an actor, and he was on like the Sarah Silverman program. Or was the Sarah Silverman show? I think it was the show. So we talk about a lot of good things. And before we get into it, let me just plug my Twitter at EJ Scott, the podcast at EJ Podcast, my website, ejscott.com. I'm raising money for charity. Go to crowdrise.com/7on7. That's the number 7 on the number 7. And see the list of charities that I'm raising money for. There's about a dozen of them, all very worthy causes. And I'm sure anybody listening can relate to at least one of those causes. So I hope you'll check it out and help me raise $500,000 in whatever amount of time it takes to raise that much money. It may take a while, but so please check that out. I am going blind from an eye disease called choroideremia. It runs in my family. It's genetic and degenerative. I'm legally blind now. And a few years ago, I did 12 marathons on 12 states, in 2012, blindfolded. And I was able to get a documentary made about it called Running Blind, directed by Ryan Suffern. And you can go check that out if you have 30 minutes. It's a 30-minute short, and it's really well done. And it only costs like $2 or $3 to rent it or buy it. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, or Amazon. So I hope you will make the effort to go check that out. I ran a lot of miles to make it. So there you go. So Chris and I talk about a lot of stuff, and we had a good time catching up. And he's been in this business for a while, and we talk about the business and marriage and fatherhood and all sorts of cool stuff. So enjoy my talk with the great Chris Tallman. So
is she filming right now?
She is
in New York.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys do? How do you know that being gone for so? Because you went out there before, right?
We do like half and half. So I'll go. I was there for a couple months last year, the end of last year.
Okay.
And then I came here. I've been here for the month, and then I go back.
And then you go back
the next week, and then I'll be there till she's done, and then we come back.
That's hard.
And then season 3 will start at some point, and we'll go back.
Wow.
Go back and forth.
But I mean, what a gig! That's the best part.
Yeah, it's a gig. It's cool.
It's a
cool gig, and at least it's in New York and not like Vancouver or something.
That's true.
Because I know nothing about Vancouver. No offense to Vancouver, but
I think I've been there a couple times. It's a nice city.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, we're from New York, so we know New York, and you know, there's.
As a city.
As a city.
I've lived here now way longer than I only lived in New York for like 6 years, but I still have part of my brain that's like, remember New York? Don't you want to go back there? It's fun. It's just tilting.
That's okay. I'm still picking you up.
Okay, as long as it works for you.
Yeah.
I'll come in and kiss. All right.
That's good.
All right.
You lived in New York for 6 years?
I was there from 93 to 99. I moved there. I was in college. left college to be an actor. And so I was in New York with the sketch group. It was a bunch of guys that I was improvising with in comedy sports. I was in comedy sports in Madison, Wisconsin, and then a bunch of us moved to New York. A bunch of those guys were there like a year ahead of me, so it made it for. I've had very easy moves, both when I had to move from Wisconsin to New York and then New York to LA, because both times I already had friends in those cities.
That helps.
Oh, it makes it so much better, because I think you forget every time you move to a new city, even if you have a bunch of friends there and you know the city really well, you're still starting over. Yeah. Every time you know.
Yeah, I've moved a lot.
Yeah. Starting over is hard. You were in Chicago and then you were back here. I'm sure when you came back here, you were like, you knew I.O., you all had friends, but there's still this...
Deborah.
Yeah. There's still this feeling right, where's Ralph's? Right. Where do I go in the morning? Like, it's you
catch your bear. You have to get your bearings, because I was used to Chicago life for 3 years, and then you move out here. I moved from Long Island to Florida to go to school. Moved a couple times there, just different housing.
Right.
And then moved back to Long Island to study acting and improv and stuff.
Right.
And then from there moved to Los Angeles. From there, Chicago back here.
Who were you studying with in New York? Was that the Pit? Was the Pit already open?
Didn't exist yet, I don't think. UCB was around, but I went to like one UCB show and I didn't like it, and it was a cage match. I didn't know anything about improv, so I was like, what is this? I don't like this. And I was like, long form, blah. Because I was doing like short form stuff. So
yeah, that's how I started too.
Yeah, and I loved Who the Lion Is It Anyway, obsessed. And I studied at an acting school called HB Studios.
Sure, Herbert Berghoff.
Yeah. And had a great improv teacher. I was like, maybe I should take improv, just to put in my toolbox.
Yeah.
And fell in love with it instantly. And the teacher was the greatest, because...
Who's your teacher?
Her name was Rasa Kazavas. And I didn't even realize what she was teaching me until I went to all these other schools. She was teaching me long form.
Right.
She was teaching me mono scenes and stuff like that. It was really incredible. Wow. Yeah.
Have you seen her at all since?
I have not seen her in a very long time. But I took her class like 4 times.
Wow.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah, that I feel like, especially for improv, when you find that first class or that first teacher or that first group that you click with, like it really is life changing.
Yeah.
Like you go, oh, this is who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be doing this.
This is great.
Yeah. And it's addictive and it's super fun.
Yeah.
And you all of a sudden immediately have a group of friends who you're like, well, yeah, we have class, but then we hang out at the bar, and then we're going to go over to Skeeter's place and hang out. Well, I mean, he goes by Skeeter now.
You know Skeeter too?
Yeah. He calls himself Jake when he works at the bank, but at the show, he's Skeeter.
He's Skeeter, and he does a great Christian Slater impression.
Oh, my God. Christian Slater. Join me this week as I host Saturday Night Live.
Who was your first big
improv teacher? Mike Rock. Mike Rock is out here now, and he performs with at Meltdown, sort of the Meltdown Improv School. He performs there, and then he also performs with Theater Sports here in town. Two different groups here. Okay. But yeah, he was in Madison, and he was sort of like my big brother, and taught me how to improvise. And I'm lucky, because then when I moved to New York with this group, he was part of that group, and then we all, in addition to doing improv, we started doing sketch as well. And that was a group that called the Bert Ferschners. We got hired then by Comedy Central.
Whoa.
Sort of 2 summers in a row. The first summer we did like interstitial stuff and a music video, and then a pilot, which didn't go. But then the following summer they brought us back to do a special. So
it's great.
Oh, it was great.
That's big stuff.
It was
considering you're just coming from Wisconsin or something. And then all of a sudden Comedy Central's
very exciting. And we went to, that's when the Aspen Comedy Festival existed. So I think we went, I think it was the second year of the Aspen, the U.S. Comedy Arts Festival. Have you heard of that at all?
Sure.
They don't do it anymore, but it was so much fun. And like, those days of doing like that kind of sketch and improv and stuff in New York, like that's when, the Largo is here now. New York, I'm blanking on what it was called, but New York, there was a similar thing where it's sort of a smaller weekly comedy show, And like one week, Janine Garofalo would host it, or the Scars would host it, or Mark Maron. So it was sort of all the people who were in doing that kind of alternative comedy. Todd Barry, Ross Broccoli, UCB, when they first moved there, they were big at the time. And so it was, to be a part of that was incredible. Because you're each week performing, but you're also seeing all these people, you know, and it's walking on stage with your notebook, figuring stuff out, and some people be very prepared, and other people be like halfway through a joke, but this is just dumb.
That's Mark Maron.
Yeah, I don't know. It could possibly be Maron, but if he was in that group, he was certainly not the only one. There are a lot of us who were just sort of like, Did
you ever do stand-up?
God, no.
No, why not?
It scares the living hell out of me. Doesn't that scare you? Do you do stand-up?
I've done it. Because I was doing a lot of improv, and it gave me confidence. But I was still stage shy.
Okay.
So I was like, well, to get over that, I go up on stage myself.
Yeah, with my prepared stuff. How was it?
I did okay. It was hard getting stage time, I noticed. It was like really difficult in New York.
I would think. Time. I mean, again, like, same thing as moving to another city. If you're shifting out of improv or sketch or to straight acting and trying to get into stand-up, that's starting over, man. Yeah. It doesn't matter how long you've been in that city. I have some friends who've been, after they got a certain amount of fame, then started doing stand-up. And that helped. Named. Yeah, because they were named.
Stage time.
So they could get stage time and actually, I think, book gigs.
Yeah. But when you're putting your name on a list 4 hours before, you know, the start of an open mic, maybe your name will get called. You won't know until they start picking out names randomly.
It's so hard. And also, I feel like stand-up just as an art form, I really admire it. I would love to be able to do it, but I don't know. I feel like at this point now, I'm like,
I'm sure you could do it. I'm sure of it. I've seen you do monologues for like Armando's and things like that.
Sure. I think I have the basic skills necessary to stand on a stage and talk to people. But what I really admire about stand-up, that discipline and honing jokes and ultimately being funny, but it's sort of the stand-ups I really respond to are the people who kind of, you know, they're trying to say something. They have a really distinct point of view. I feel like I don't have that. I don't have that clear point of view. And I'm like, I feel like it's beyond me. I feel like I look at that and go, there are people who are very, very good at that. Yeah, you know, and they come to your mind, and you're like, oh my God, if I could be half as good as that person.
Yeah. So you're a little nervous about it because you're sort of comparing yourself to others. Of like,
and you know, just that walking up there and tanking. Yeah. Oh God, is there a worse feeling?
I've done it, and no,
there isn't. I did stand up this last year for a friend who was having a birthday, and they wanted to do. Here's what happened. I was told we're going to roast this person.
Okay.
And so that kind of
I was like stand up.
Yeah, it is stand up, but I was like, I can roast them. Because also in that scenario, you're like, it's a very friendly audience.
Yep, you're all there for a purpose.
We're all there for a purpose. We're all there to make fun of this person. Yeah. So as I'm walking on stage, I go, oh no, it's not a roast. I'm like, what? No, it's did I say it was a roast? Yes. You super clearly told me that it was a roast because that's the only way I would agree to do this. And so it was me and one other person sort of doing it together, and we were like, we are being so mean and savage. As you know, I feel like we successfully checked off the box of roast. Like, we took things and made fun of them, but nobody else was doing that. Oh. And I remember walking off stage just being like, oh, that hurts. That hurts.
That's so funny.
Because that same audience, again, that audience that you're sort of counting on to be there and supportive for you, they're really there and being supportive for that person.
Yeah, they don't know you're going to roast them.
Yeah. And so all I could do is before the joke started, I said, I was told this was a roast. So that is what I'm going to do.
You're a pedophile. Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah. And but like the third or fourth one, it's kind of like weird, uncomfortable laughter. Yeah. And I had to say that. It's like, you are correct, by the way.
Was there any instinct for you to go up and say, I was told this was a roast?
I did.
So, okay.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I was like, the only way I'm walking out of this with any kind of dignity, not much,
right,
but a little bit of dignity is to at least say to the audience, I am about to tell roast jokes. Now, you're going to think what you think about my jokes, but that is what I am here to do.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
Yeah. Well,
so maybe that killed your stand-up.
You know what? I'm not real excited to do it again. Not real excited to walk up there
just
and
do some roast jokes right now.
Sure. What do you call that? Water? You asshole? I don't know.
I hurt my feelings.
Oh no! EJ, I was told this wasn't a podcast. I was told this was a roast.
Oh no!
This is going to be long.
Oh, the text I sent you was an autocorrect mistake. That was the problem.
Why did you do that?
So you're from Madison, born and raised?
Born and raised in Wisconsin. Grew up there, and then went to college there. So I lived there, until I was. When did I move to New York? I moved to New York in. God, what was it? January of 93? That sounds right. Yeah, so I moved there, or maybe was it May, maybe. Yeah, 93, I moved there. Yeah, is that 19 years ago?
14 years ago?
Don't make me do math.
I did it for you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I moved there, and then I lived there until January of 99. Mm-hmm. And then...
That's way longer. Wait, did you say 93?
I was there from 93 to 99.
Okay.
And for 6 years in New York. And now I've been in L.A. since January of 99. So...
Okay, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
That's like 18 years. So
I've been here for 18 years, yeah.
And your sisters, brothers?
I'm the oldest of three. I have one brother who's also an actor in Philadelphia. And then my sister is a magistrate in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah.
What do they do?
A magistrate, apparently. I asked the same question.
It's a fantastic title.
I know. It sounds good, right? Does she have a powdered wig?
Yeah.
And like doubloons?
Let's roast her.
Yeah. She, it's like a judge. She does not have a law degree, but the position is basically when a judge or other sort of like high-ranking legal official is needed 24 hours a day. Like, so for a wedding, to swear out a warrant, to put somebody in jail, that's what a magistrate does. Gotcha. So she is there, sometimes she's on there 9 to 5, but a lot of times she's there like third shift, because those positions really are like, oh, it's 4 a.m. and we need to swear out a warrant. Call the magistrate.
Right.
And I was asking her, like, so do you get like a badge?
Does she have a bat phone? Like a red?
Oh, God, wouldn't that be great?
Under a glass.
Yeah, no, she makes it sound like it's not fun.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun, really.
But magistrate, that's
a good title, though.
Freeze! Show me your hands, magistrate! Wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Tonight, like when you're at...
You have to show your hands.
Oh, my God, you guys, the magistrate's here. What is that? I don't know.
Let me bow.
Whoa. And like a capelet? Not a full cape, but like a capelet? Sure. Yeah, so she's been doing that for a long time.
Okay. Did you guys get along growing up? You guys
did really well growing up. Yeah, we were super sweet kids. And I was always wanting to like... I don't think I knew I wanted to be a performer exactly, but we loved to pretend and, imagination. And then, like, also, one of the very first... my dad says the first movie I saw was Star Wars. Oh. So I have just early memories of, like, playing Luke Skywalker. Or my brother, because I was the older brother, I always got to be Batman, and he got to be Robin. My mom would safety pin beach towels around our necks and then draw out of, like, construction paper, like... a Batman in a Robin mask. And
that's cool. That's a cool mom.
Oh, she was great. Yeah, so we would play. So yeah, my childhood was a lot of pretending, a lot of Batman, a lot of Mos Eisley Spaceport. It's a wretched hive of scum and villainy, EJ.
Oh, okay.
From Star Wars. You remember what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, you're a uber nerd.
Oh, what do you mean? Now that I'm just, without prompting, quoting Star Wars, why would you say that?
Well, and I consider myself a nerd as well.
Sure.
But when I meet guys like you, I'm like, I don't even know what they're talking about.
Does it make you feel more macho? You're kind of like, I'm kind of like a cool, rough and tumble guy.
I'm a poser. I'm not really a nerd. Like I'm posing as a nerd.
What are you talking about? You have the gremlin statue in the other room. Your membership is fully valid.
Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah, I love Star Wars.
Me too.
And all that stuff. And my kids are just starting to kind of get into it a little bit.
Did you take them to Rogue One?
I did. We took them last Christmas. I have 2 young daughters.
What ages now?
6 and 8.
Okay, they're pretty young.
Pretty young.
They're still pretty young.
But like I said, Star Wars was the first movie I remember seeing. And so I was probably, it came out in May of 77. So I was 6. So I'm sort of in their same age. So I was like, I can take them to Force Awakens.
Right.
And they really liked it. The part, spoiler, the point when Rey gets the lightsaber, my 8-year-old like turned to me in the movie theater and did the fist pump, and she was like, yes. And as a parent, I was like, this is a good day.
That's fucking cool.
This is a good day.
That's cool. And it's a girl, too. You got daughters. You're seeing this really powerful girl.
Exactly.
On screen.
Yeah. And so we took them to Rogue One this year, but there was some weird, it was right before Christmas. There was like a smoke alarm or something at the movie theater. So it ended, spoiler alert, the movie stopped right after K2 I'm spoiling it now.
Yep.
Right when K2 got shot.
Yep.
And like he falls down, and then the movie just stopped.
Okay.
And so I went back to see the rest of it, but I have not brought my kids back to see the rest of it because I'm like, they just all die. Everybody just dies. As we walked out of the theater, my older daughter is like, Daddy, when K2 died, the movie died. And I was like, that is kind of correct. That's actually a pretty fair
go downhill from there.
Yeah, I think when K2 goes, that's not a bad description.
It's funny.
Did you see it?
Oh yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked Force Awakens more, but I
did
enjoyed
too.
it.
But I have a friend who I work with who's a hardcore Star Wars guy, and when Rogue One came out, revealed to me, he was like, I hated Force Awakens. He's like, I thought it was all wrong. I know. And I was surprised because I really had fun.
Yeah, me too.
He's like, I hated Force Awakens, but Rogue One is the movie, the Star Wars movie that I was waiting for. So I'm like, okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, Rogue One does do a good job of going, hey, remember all those little pockets of things that were missing? It was on like a scroll, or certain things were like, how'd that happen? This happened? They do a pretty good job of filling some of those things in.
I like it a lot. I love going back to the 1970s version of Star Wars.
Right.
You know what I mean? I like being back in that world. I like seeing like that the K2 droid. Like I like seeing, there's other kinds of stormtroopers, but still in that world. I feel like everything kind of still fit within A New Hope. My complaint about it is that I feel like they promised a heist movie and then had a hard time delivering on that aspect of it. But I still had fun.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I needed to bring my kids back to it because I was like,
Did you have free tickets?
No, we would have, but it was the whole theater. It's this big theater in Hollywood called the ArcLight.
Yeah.
Thing for their benefit.
Okay.
And so it was 20 theaters, so it was this massive crowd, and it was Christmas time, and we had our kids, and I was just like, we're just gonna go home. I'm sure they offered stuff.
Yeah.
And
so the whole theater went out.
All of them.
All the theaters.
When we walked out, we saw some of the ushers kind of rushing. We're like, what happened? And I guess this doesn't make sense, but this is what the usher said. He said somebody was smoking inside the building and tried to put out their cigarette in a trash can, and it started to smolder. And it kind of makes me go, at Christmas 2016, who's trying to sneak a smoke inside a building? Like, how did you think that was going to go? And so it smoldered and it set off the fire alarm. So as a precaution, they evacuated. But this is what I thought was really interesting. Yeah. Again, in Christmas of 2016, the movie, like we're watching the movie, all of a sudden it went black for a half a second, and then like the emergency lights came on.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything. Everybody just immediately stood up, put on their jackets, and everybody was like, we're going. I don't know why this is happening, but we're all walking out. But there was no panic. There was nobody freaking out, but it was a group mind unanimously.
Was there whoop whoop or anything like that? Like
yeah, I mean, there were like I said, there were sort of like, there wasn't sirens, so it wasn't
flashing lights.
Something. There were like those emergency lights that go on.
Right.
And also you just, in that experience, if a movie in a movie theater just stops and the lights come on,
just get the fuck out of it.
And everybody was like, we're getting the fuck out.
We're in that world now. It could be anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a fire.
I just, over this holiday, my wife and I were in Paris for a while, and it was interesting. Every major sort of location, Eiffel Tower, the museums, a very visible armed police presence, like groups of like 10 to 15 cops, all with machine guns. Yeah. And again, it wasn't scary, but it was like, oh, this is our world now.
Yep. Same thing. You go to Penn Station.
Oh yeah.
You walk through Penn Station. There's guys stand with like full on rifles and stuff, like
big automatic weapons. And it's interesting that everything we've gone through in the last few years, as just a regular civilian, you're just like, yep, that's part of the deal now. Part of the deal now is visible, overwhelming military force.
Well, now, there was that shooting in Fort Lauderdale at the baggage claim.
Yep.
I'm sure, that'll affect at least that airport. They'll probably put extra security there, more metal detectors, who knows what.
Yeah.
Everything everywhere.
Yeah, I feel it's interesting, like having kids and stuff. It's like you kind of go, oh, I wonder what the world is going to end up looking like for them. It probably won't be that dissimilar from the way it is now, but it's like, if you think about how old what the world was like when we were kids, it was like there weren't even seatbelts. I mean, they physically existed, but we didn't use them.
Your parents were still smoking in the house.
Oh yeah, you climbed all over each other. Yeah, smoking. Oh yeah, smoking.
Helmet. So what's a helmet?
Yeah, helmet, schmelmet. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what the world looks like in 30 years for our kids when they're like, now everybody's got these teleporting jetpacks. Ugh.
That's not going to happen. That should have happened by now. If you looked at those movies back when we were growing up.
But have you seen, like, in the last year, somebody, like, they're putting out videos of, like, they're building, like, actual hovercrafts or, like, personal, like, like, it's like a drone with, like, sort of 4 fan blades, but somebody's standing on it and they're flying around.
Yeah, like a Green Goblin type thing or something.
You know what that gets me excited for?
What?
Because once that technology, even if it doesn't work very well, once that technology is sort of released to the public, once we're flying on our little hoverboard things, sky cops. There's going to be sky cops. And what is cooler than saying you're cooler than a magistrate? Sky cop.
A sky magistrate?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I wouldn't argue with that one.
Still with the cape?
I don't know. You get cape caught in one of those drone blades. You're
just like the Incredibles.
You're an ex-magistrate at that point. But wouldn't you want to be a sky cop?
It'd be interesting. I think we should.
You like the Rocketeer.
We should master driving first. I feel like we should still master certain things before we're like, all right, now let's take it to the air. It's like, well, you sure? Because there's still tons of accidents on the ground.
I don't know if we really got this whole motorcycle thing down. Do we really want to then add a Z-axis to our travel? Do we really want to go up and down? But I mean, just to be able to walk in like a leather bomber jacket and like jodhpurs and like those big aviator goggles, I'm like, oh man, I had to keep on flying all around Pacoima today. It's keeping the sky safe. Sky cop. Oh,
well, that sounds like your next show. I would think. That sounds. Am I crazy? That sounds like
it could be.
Called Dan Harmon.
Well, he's busy now. He's got Rick and Morty, and then I'm sure there's some other thing coming from him right now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He just offered
his podcast too.
The nerd. It's not Nerd Poker. What's his one called? Harmontown. Harmon Quest. Do you watch that?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, Harmon Quest I really like. Yeah. It's great. Well, I mean, I like the D&D podcast to begin with. So Harmontown, I really like Nerd Poker. But then to add the visual element on CISO, it's awesome.
Yeah,
because they take D&D seriously enough that they're actually playing it, but they're still kind of screwing around and having fun with it.
You know, my girlfriend's a huge D&D person.
What?
My girlfriend's a huge D&D person. Huge. She texted me earlier. She goes, I'm just sitting around making D&D maps.
Do you guys play?
She plays. I've played twice, but she's a dungeon master now to like 3 different groups.
Oh, wow.
And she plays in another group just as a player. Obsessed with it.
Why are you not playing D&D with her? You're not into the game?
I was excited to play the first time. And the first time I played, I didn't have a good time.
Because I mean, to be fair, D&D is slow. And it very much is about like
a long time, and I'm a little antsy after a while.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but this time, the first time we played, every time it was my turn, I either got skipped or I died.
Skipped? Oh, because you're like, I'm going to cast a thing and that takes 10 rounds. So.
I don't know, but somebody rolled a thing, and because of that roll, I got skipped, and I was like, what the fuck? I waited 30 minutes for my turn.
Yeah.
I got skipped.
And also, I'm sure it took a while to roll up a character and stuff like that. Yeah, D&D is...
So, but the second time I played was much more fun. I was filling in for somebody. Deborah was dungeon mastering this one.
What was that like, having her be the DM?
She's great.
I would think she'd be good at it.
She writes her stories. She makes maps. She's all over it. And then this one was pretty much a one-off with like some really good people. And I filled in, and it just went really long.
Yes, they do. It's like Risk, but I like Risk.
You like Risk?
You know that board game, Risk?
Yeah, I know the board game.
Yeah, and the same thing. Like a good Risk game might take 3 to 4 hours.
Well, this was 6 hours.
Gosh, and what did you do? Like just barely get into the dungeon? That's the thing.
We finished.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because everybody was like, "This is a one-off. We should just push through."
Push through. All right. So, how did you feel when it was all done? Did you walk away from it going, "Oh, I'll do that again"?
I would if it was like half the length. If we could have split that up into 2 nights, that would have been good.
Did you guys have pizza and Mountain Dew?
We ended up ordering food in the middle of it.
Yeah, you have to.
And
I mean, that's part of kind of what keeps you alive. Is like you're sitting there and you're rolling your dice to make your wand of Orcus work while you're eating like your slice of pepperoni mushroom.
We definitely had pizza. Actually, we definitely had pizza.
Yeah, and you need like Mountain Dew. You need something to kind of like pick you up because, like you said, like when you're exploring like a dark cavern and you're going like 10 feet at a time, you're like, this is fucking interminable.
We were doing it till like 1 a.m. or something.
Yeah. Sorry. Sounds like you played a pretty authentic game of it, though.
Yeah.
What kind of character were you?
What was I? I didn't make it up. I just.
You were feeling it.
Fighter. I was a wizard.
Oh, okay. Wizard's pretty good.
I was a wizard.
Yeah. Were you able to cast some cool spells?
Maybe. I don't even remember.
Oh, EJ.
Sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry. Am I still a nerd?
Oh, yeah, no. Okay. You're never going to lose that cred. Free yourself from that. You'll always have that cred.
Well, growing up, your parents, what they do for work?
My dad, he's retired now. He was an attorney. We grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, and the University of Wisconsin has like 5 different campuses. There's Milwaukee, Madison, Eau Claire, Stevens Point, and so my dad was an attorney for the university, so he would travel from Madison to sort of the main whatever branch. Yeah, exactly. Right. So a lot of his job would be traveling to the different cities and representing the university in whatever legal stuff they had going on. My mom was, before we were born, she was a counselor for juvenile delinquents.
Oh, wow.
And then had us. So when she went back to work, she got a job first as a graduate student advisor in something called industrial relations. And I still don't quite understand what it is. But I mean, it's obviously, I think it's kind of like engineering and stuff like that. If you're an industrial relations person, please write to EJ.
Yeah. Right.
And then around the time that I got to high school, she decided she wanted to go back to school. So she went to law school.
Oh.
And I think, and did really well. You know, it's like, I feel like anytime in your life when you, maybe a little late in your life, kind of stop and go, you know what, I'm going to go back to school or something, those people always ace it.
Really? Yeah.
They're
focused.
Well, yeah. When you're 38 and you're like, and you say to yourself, I'm going back to college, you're going to kill that college because you're not screwing around. No. You're paying
don't have
for
to
it.
Go.
Yeah, no. And you're paying for it as well. You know what I mean? So she did law school, and then right out of law school, got hired by the city of Madison. She was the lead prosecutor for Madison until she retired. So now they're both retired. Yeah.
They're both retired.
Mm-hmm.
Still in Madison.
Oh, well, no, my parents divorced when I was 8 or 9 or something like that. Yeah. So basically, once me and my brother and sister, once we kind of finished school in Madison, my dad then moved to Portland, and he lives in Portland now with his partner. And then my mom and my stepfather still live in Madison, and so I will go back there for like holidays and stuff.
Okay.
Like that.
Well, how was that? Because your brother and sister must have been really young.
Yeah, I don't know the exact timeline because we were kids. I would say I was probably like 8, so that means we're all 2 years apart. So my brother is probably 6 and my sister is probably like 4.
Do you know what happened?
My dad is gay, so it didn't work out.
So partner was
yeah. So yes. So he's out now. But that ended it.
Gay. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it was in the 70s too when it all went down. So it's a much more accepting time. When it happened, it was. They didn't. They told us they were getting a divorce, but he didn't tell us he was gay. Probably, I think he told us each once they thought we were old enough to get it. And I was probably in 6th grade, I think, when they told me.
Okay, what was that? 10,
11, something like that. Yeah.
What'd you think? What was that? Where do you go?
I was really upset because once he said that he was gay, it clicked. Oh, they're never going to get back together. Oh, it's over.
So for like a couple of years, you thought maybe.
I don't remember thinking that so much as once he said he was gay, everything kind of came crashing. And I was like, oh, that's why. And, maybe I don't know if it was exactly they're not going to get back together so much as like, oh, this is why. They will not be in love.
Right.
And I think also too at that young age, like the idea of it, I think I must have known what a divorce was, but I certainly never ever considered it within my own life. And so when you're a kid that young and your parents get divorced, like it really shook me in what my perception of like love meant. You know what I mean? Because all of a sudden,
sure.
When you're like,
especially, what is that, early 80s or something like that?
I would say they got divorced probably around like 79 or 80. So like just as a kid learning about the world and hearing your parents are getting divorced, I was like, oh wait, love can be over? Like people can stop. And I think then as an adult, it was really hard because I had this weird anxiety in my head about love can be over. People can stop loving you. And you know what I mean? So it made it hard for me. I know this now.
Right.
At the time, I didn't understand what was going on. But like dating was hard for me because I had this weird thing in the back of my head of, but like you're gonna leave me, or you know what I mean? Like, it really
that's a little traumatizing then.
Oh yeah.
What'd you do to get past that? Therapy? Or
I went to a lot of
really?
but I didn't start therapy until after I moved to New York. I started therapy probably around 95, I think, or something like that. And I saw the same therapist. Even after I moved here, we would still do phone sessions. So I saw the same therapist for, not 20 years, but close to that.
Kidding.
A long time. Well, it took me a while to kind of open up and to kind of like get to it. And then...
Good for you though for sticking with like
the same person. I needed it. I needed that help, and I needed it's just everything. I sort of had to relearn my own emotions. Like I always, because of the divorce, I was already kind of by my nature kind of a goody like follow the rules kind of a kid. And then with the divorce, I locked my head onto this idea of if I am perfect, then nothing else can go away. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like,
there's a formula to it.
Well, yeah, I was like, well, my parents can stop being together. What else can happen? Right. What else can go away? So I really got locked into this thing of like trying to be the best son, trying to be the best friend, trying to be the best person who cleans his dishes. You know what I mean? I remember when I lived in New York, I was smoking for a while, and I kind of realized that at one point or another, like I quit smoking. And I said, but even when I quit smoking, I was talking about this with my therapist, I was like, I'm still having this weird thing about like, I'm trying to be the best at quitting smoking. Which is crazy.
Which looks like what?
Exactly. Who knows what that looks like? But like I had this I don't think it looks like anything, but emotionally I was carrying around this anxiety of like, oh, there's, maybe if I ever think about having a cigarette again, there's something wrong.
I see.
Because, you know what I mean? As opposed
you
to...
have like a perfectionism thing going on.
I did. I think I still do to a certain... I think part of it, like I said, I think part of it is kind of who I am as a human being. Mm-hmm. And then maybe that got exacerbated because of the divorce. Maybe that's just the way I responded to the divorce. I feel like I kind of have to remind myself now. I'm better at it now, but it's still, like I said, it still comes up in weird ways. And being a parent, trying to be a perfectionist is, what are you gonna do? Like,
it's impossible.
It's impossible, and also it's unfair to try and pass that on either your spouse or your kids. Like, the husband or the dad who's like, no, you can do it better. Like, Jesus, fuck. Who wants to be around that guy?
So have you been learning a lot as a father?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's changed everything. And in the best way possible. I really like being a dad. I knew early on I wanted to be a dad. I don't know why. Just as a kid, I thought like, oh, I want to be a dad. There was something about it that I was really drawn to. But yeah, I mean, it teaches you patience like crazy. Like I feel like I was a pretty patient person to begin with, but you have to have, I'm sure you can imagine like you have to be stretched beyond your capacity and then push even a little bit harder at times. I remember when my wife's name is Sarah. When Sarah was in the delivery room having our first kid, like the way it works is like they wheel the mother in first, and as a dad, like you're dressed up in scrubs and you have like that weird like puffy hat on and the face mask and everything, and the nurse turns to you and says, "Dad, you're gonna sit out here," and you start asking a question, and she goes, "You'll come in when we come and get you. Until then, stay there in that chair." And they're not being mean. They're just like, they've been through this a gabillion times.
Sure.
So they've already basically figured out the shortest way to handle this. And the shortest way to handle this is to lay it out for you very clearly, and all your dumb questions can wait.
Follow instructions.
Yeah, you sit. So you kind of go there and you sit. And because you're wearing your medical jumpsuit thing, like you have your phone like hidden inside your pocket underneath the jumpsuit thing. So you're kind of like, oh, wait, I don't have my phone. So you're just kind of sitting there, and you might be in that hallway for 10 minutes. You could be in the hallway for
10 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I do not know how long I was there. But you sit and you wait, and this sounds dramatic. I don't mean it to be like this, but it's a really deep sense of helplessness because you're like, there's a baby coming, and there is nothing you are as the dad. Your job is to sit here and ride it out. Yeah,
so there's two important people,
way more important than you,
that are in a situation. Mm-hmm. Hopefully everything is going well. Mm-hmm. But then there's these other people that you don't know. They're strangers, basically. Sort of.
You know your doctor.
Yeah.
And they don't want you in the room messing with shit, asking dumb questions. And basically, so what happens is right before the kid is born, somebody leans out and goes, "Dad, let's go." And you go, so
time.
Yeah, and you're like, "Oh, am I late? Like, did you guys forget? Like what?" So you kind of walk in, and there's a little seat right up next to her head, and you're next to the anesthesiologist. And they say to you, "Okay, Dad, here we go. Get your camera out." So now you're like fumbling inside your jumpsuit thing to get your thing out. Oh. And they're like, "Okay, Dad, here we go. 3, 2, 1. There's your baby."
Oh, they just pull it out, so they get. Well,
they're doing whatever needs doing,
right? And
you are a tourist.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But it sounds dismissive. I didn't feel. Mm-hmm. Well, I did feel dismissed, but I was supposed to be dismissed. Right. Nobody did anything wrong. I was treated the way I was supposed to be treated. But yeah, you have this this deep feeling of like, okay, here we go, and you're panicked, and you're breathing crazy, and all of a sudden there's a baby.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's.
How'd Sarah? What was her when you stepped in that room? How was she doing?
She was great. Yeah. The thing, and those are the only cues you can take. Like you look and sit down, and she. she's on this table and there's doctors and stuff, but she looks up and she goes, "Hi," and you're like, "Okay,
It's okay.
yeah, it's okay,
It's okay.
And you because you're the partner in that moment, you're like, okay, my job is to focus on her and just say, you're doing great. I don't know. I assume she's doing great in that nobody's screaming or anything like that. But you're just like, I'm going to try and help.
Do you have to do like Lamaze, like the breathing or together?
We took
like
classes and stuff like that, but she was, our first daughter was a bigger birth weight. And so because of that, they did a C-section.
Okay.
Apparently when babies have a bigger birth weight, they don't want to be born because they're doing quite well.
What's the birth? Can I ask what the birth weight is?
Sure, yeah. Hers was, they always estimated like give or take like half a pound. They thought she could be up to 9 pounds.
That's it. I was over that.
How big were you?
I was over 10.
Oh, your mom hates you. Oh, you're a monster. You were over 10?
Yeah, but there was no, whatever was told to Sarah, there was none of that. It was like, just get it out.
Wow.
Yeah,
when I guess when babies are bigger, they don't want to be born because they're like, why would I want to be born? I'm getting plenty of food.
Yeah, I'm growing just fine.
I'm warm. I am cozy. Why would I ever leave this place?
Was she late? The baby late? I was a week late.
We had to schedule a C-section because they were worried that if we went for natural delivery, she would go into labor and then not be born for like 48 hours, and then they would have to do a C-section. Mm-hmm. So our doctor's like, no, we're just going to go ahead and schedule this.
Okay.
And obviously, if something happened before the scheduled C-section, they would go with that. So that was, I guess, a fairly normal birth. And then our second kid, we had a lot of complications, and Sarah ended up being on bed rest in the hospital.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, it all worked. The good news is it all worked out and everything's fine.
That's good.
Yes.
What do you know why?
She had a thing called placenta previa, which is the placenta. Is sort of like the sac that the baby's inside of. I didn't know this, but apparently there's a thing where the placenta sometimes can. What's supposed to happen is, baby is born. And a moment or two later, a couple minutes later, the placenta, the sac that the baby comes out, is sort of naturally
comes out.
Yeah, it detaches itself from the uterus and it comes out.
And some people keep it, right? Don't
they eat it or something. Yeah, they put it in a necklace or they use it for all kinds of medicinal stuff.
Yeah.
Sarah's placenta previa, the placenta is starting to attach itself to the uterus, meaning there's a chance that it won't come out when it's supposed to. And the danger of a placenta previa is that it can actually, in certain cases, grow through the uterus and attach itself into your organs.
Oh, into the organ.
Yeah, to your liver and stuff like that. And so that in that scenario, that's when a mother can bleed out because you delivered and the placenta is supposed to be attaching and you're not. And so in a matter of minutes, it can become very scary. So
how long was she in bed rest?
She started having bleeding around 25 weeks. Typically, a pregnancy goes about 40 weeks.
Right. 2/3 of the way.
So about 2/3 of the way through, she started having bleeding. And we lived just far enough away from the hospital that they really were concerned that if she had a serious bleed, we wouldn't get to the hospital in time.
Oh boy!
So
that's scary to hear.
It was all this stuff. Again, as a young parent, you're just like, what? That's a thing? That can happen? So around 20. Am I right? I think around 25 weeks, she started having bleeds that were starting to come more and more frequently, meaning she had one and then maybe not another one for about another week or two, and then maybe now a week and a half later. It's so but the second or third one, we're in the emergency room, and the doctor's like, you're not going, you're here, you're just staying here.
Wow.
Which is of course terrifying, but also at that time we had our first daughter was still at home, and she was 18 months when our second daughter was born, so she was closer to 14 months, so we had basically a kid just over a year, and then Sarah got sort of essentially locked into the hospital.
So she stayed there for a few
She
months?
stayed there for, well, she was supposed to stay to go to full term. She made it to 33 weeks, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I mean, there are parents who deliver at 25 weeks.
Yeah.
So she was in there for a little while, and then the bleedings basically just kept coming more and more. And finally we got to the day of week 33, and our doctor was like, now we're delivering this baby.
C-section.
Yeah, we're doing an emergency C-section right now. And that is, again, I only know this by comparison. That's way more frightening, because the first birth, I don't know, there were probably 10 people. There's a doctor, maybe a doctor or two assisting them, an anesthesiologist, and then sort of the neonatal team that sort of immediately grabbed the baby and clean her up.
Yeah.
With the second birth, because of the way the placenta attaches, the best surgical team, because what happens is you deliver the baby and then you wait and see. And if the placenta does not come out, another surgical team has to come in and remove it. And usually in those cases, they have to perform an emergency hysterectomy. Because, which is a nightmare and terrifying. Yeah. So that team, and traditionally, apparently, oncology, which are like cancer surgeons, like traditionally, those are apparently the most skilled at knife stuff. I don't know what the term is.
That's good.
So you have your delivery team, and because the baby's early, there is now a special new baby team ready to jump in when the baby's born, and then you have the oncology surgical team. So it was like a circus makes it sound like it was like people weren't taking it seriously. It was very serious, but it was fucking crazy in that room. There were people in there, all with different parts to do, and because it's an unusual surgical thing, there are other doctors who want to be there and observe it, and medical, because they're like, this thing doesn't happen all the time. So that's very frightening and very tense. But I mean, I remember like they deliver the baby, a minute goes by, 2 minutes, and all of a sudden I hear people go, ah. And I remember our doctor, and the doctor saying, it came out, placenta's out. And then it's very strange, because then it's like a party, because everybody's like, hey, crisis averted, shaking hands, what are you doing later on? And everybody leaves. But then as the parent, you're like, I just lived with the danger, the fear of that for months.
Yeah.
And I can sort of like live with it now, but like at the time you're thinking like something could happen to the baby,
and her,
something could happen to my wife. Like it's
terrible.
It's so.
How did Sarah do for those 2 months she was in the hospital?
She was really upset because she was on bed rest. Obviously, you're upset and freaked out because your body is very much not your own. At the time she got put onto bed rest, there was something going on. There was some like bad cold or something. So for like a first week or two, we couldn't bring our year-old daughter to visit her because there was like a big quarantine about kids at the hospital. So for like the first 2 weeks, she was alone at this hospital, and I would go back and forth between our daughter and seeing her. And then we lucked out, and we had just started with a new babysitter, and who sort of like immediately pitched in. And then we've had several friends basically just sort of take shifts and say, I'll watch your daughter while you go to the hospital and spend time with Sarah. And then her mom, Sarah's mom, and my mom started coming out here like for a week at a time to just sort of help out. So by the time the baby was born, we kind of had a system in place.
Okay.
But it's, you're in a weirdo crisis mode.
Oh, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it really is.
And so then your youngest is born 7 weeks early. And then does the baby have to stay there for another 7 weeks?
Yeah, she was in the term is called the NICU. I don't know. I'm sure it's neonatal intensive care unit. I figured it out. They do, which is a little scary at first, but you very quickly kind of say to yourself, there is no better place for my kid to be than right here. Because you certainly, especially as a new parent, you're like, I want my baby next to me. But if anything goes wrong, they're already in the hospital with, again, really amazing doctors and nurses whose job is to just focus on these tiny little babies. And our daughter was born at 33 weeks. Like I said, like there are kids sometimes born at like 22 or 23 weeks.
Yeah.
So you kind of look at it by comparison.
What was her weight?
She was 4 or 5 pounds, but that's bigger.
Yeah.
I was, you kind of go into it going, all right, I don't know what to expect. I'm just going to sort of be open to all of it. But like she looked pretty good, and we've been lucky. Like there hasn't been any, she's always been sort of teeny tiny, but that's more the build of Sarah's family. They're like these, and my dad was like a super trim guy. Sarah's mom is super trim. And so our younger daughter is just built like that. She's a trim kid, but I don't think there's been any repercussion or anything.
No side effects or
which there can be.
Yeah.
So we came out of it great, and so there've been a couple times when either through the hospital or someone will say they've been going through a similar experience, and so Sarah has met with the mom or that family to sort of talk about her experience, because that's all you can go on is somebody else who's been through that same thing, sitting down and saying, I know you're terrified. It will be okay.
Yeah.
Did
she heal, Sarah?
Pretty good. The C-section, it's obviously a major surgery. But the fact that Betty was in the NICU for those, like 2 weeks, I think 2 or 3 weeks she stayed in the hospital. It gave Sarah a little time to be at home and heal and be back together with our older daughter. Mm-hmm. So, I think you're still recovering from the surgery. It's serious. But I think it also, having been through it once before, she kind of knew what to expect as far as a C-section and that sort of thing. Because it's still essentially the same surgery. It's a C-section.
Yeah.
Which is a gross surgery.
I'm sure.
I've seen
it on like.
Oh, you have? Why?
And stuff.
Oh, don't look it up. I wouldn't.
I don't think I looked it up. I don't know how I saw it, but I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it. And you guys on Saturday, did you guys go to the march?
Oh, we sure did. We brought ours. Yeah, it was great. We went with one other family.
Valancourts.
Yeah, that's right. And we took the train, and we're lucky. Sarah and our friend Lindsay were like, they had a plan. We were at the train station probably by like 8:30. Mm-hmm. So it was crowded and crazy, but we got on the train. We went down. Did you go?
I did. I threw my back out.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're right?
I wanted to go. I wanted to do a podcast and interview women and stuff. So I'm doing one post.
Okay.
I'm doing it in a couple days with women that went.
It was really interesting. It was... we're lucky we live in an age now with so much media coverage, and everybody has a movie camera in their pocket. Yeah. So the videos I've seen, that was what our experience was. It was really interesting. It was the biggest crowd I've been in by far, but it was polite. Mm-hmm. Like at one point I remember sort of standing there and watching. We were lucky we were like right in front of the stage. So that was incredible. But I remember one point a guy had like a full mountain bike with him and was trying to get through the crowd, and he was nice about it, sort of excuse me, and it was really interesting to see everybody would just sort of make a little hole for him, and we had little kids, and we didn't stay there for the entire whatever
rally or whatever.
Exactly. We were there. We basically stayed through the mayor. And then we started taking the kids back towards the train, and people would get out of our way. They saw that we were with little kids. It was incredible.
That's great.
Yeah.
Deborah was in D.C.
Oh, how was that?
It was good. It was good. I'm similar. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she and her mom and her brother's girlfriend and aunt and cousin. And
I like that they all got to go together as a group.
Yeah, they're all there as a group.
I'm excited to hear your thing. So are you going to try and interview different people and cut it together, or just have a series of conversations?
I just put up, since I'm not going to be here long, I just put up a thing on Facebook, who went to the march? Would anybody like to talk about on my podcast? And some people spoke up, and I have that in mind.
It was really good. I don't know, I guess I was worried that there would be not violence, but just
You never know, though.
Well, just
You
that
never
many
know.
people. That many people.
And it's a perfect place for a bomb or something, like for terrorism.
Yeah, or just jerks.
Jerks. Yeah.
And it's funny, the only time I ever saw anything was when we were on the train getting back home. That's when people were a little more agitated with each other.
Right.
But again, in the great scheme of things, it's like, well, I saw some people kind of shove it because it was basically so many people on the train.
Yeah.
So when we pull into a new station, the train is packed. Everybody at the station's been waiting God knows how long, and so they see a full train, so they try and shove their way out. And so I felt bad. Everybody who was at the door sort of had to be like a guard and sort of shout, "This train is too full."
Yeah.
And at one point, people were sort of pushing people trying to get on, off, but it could have been a lot worse.
And LA subways are not the greatest, or
I'm shocked that the whole thing worked. They stopped charging fares when we got there. Like I said, we got there early, like at 8:30. There was a giant line for people buying tickets. And while we were sort of figuring out what to do, they just made an announcement saying, we don't have any more cards to sell, so we're just letting everybody onto the train.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
Yeah, on a day like that.
For like New Year's and stuff too, and big events like that.
That's all it basically was just a big circle. It was get on the train going away from the rally, so that at least you could get on, because those trains were empty, the ones coming back. So you would get on that, ride it all the way to the end of the line, at which point then the train would start heading back towards the rally. And so you would, it added, 15 minutes onto your trip or whatever. But it was fine. It's a once in a lifetime experience.
Are you pretty close with your parents?
Yeah.
No? You're pretty good? What'd your siblings think when they heard about your dad? Did they all have different experiences?
That's a good question. I think because I was the oldest, I don't know, was I the most shocked?
Or did you tell your siblings?
No, because when my dad told me, he said he basically said, I'm waiting until I feel like you guys are old enough to understand. But I had an experience where after my dad told me, I had a friend at school one day walk up and say, she was like, I heard your dad was gay. And that really freaked me out because my dad had said that it was a secret. And I don't think he meant it he was protecting himself. And that's also, again, that was the world we lived in. But that was really upsetting to me that my brother or sister would hear it not from him.
Secondhand.
And it's interesting because I don't have a vivid memory of this, but my parents, both my mom and my dad, have at different times told me the story and said, no, you were real clear that he had to that day talk to them and tell them, so that way
you were clear?
So I was, again, so was that 6th grade, so I'm like 10 or 11. Like I said, I don't have a memory of this, but I have been told I was very upset, but that angry, direct, you need to tell them now. They stop fucking around and tell them. I don't think he was fucking around.
Did he do it?
He did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was, it's
because then it's a secret you have to keep.
Yeah, and I don't think that was the intention of course, but I feel like that's sort of what happened. Yeah. And again, being sort of like this anxious, trying to get it right kid, I'm sure I stumbled myself into don't tell anybody, but he's gay, and then but now she knows, and then what do I? I'm sure I worked myself up. But yeah, so it's the relationship was always good. Him being gay, I don't think was really ever an issue. Like I said, for me, it was much more that realization of, that's why they're not together, because my parents get along great.
That's good.
Oh yeah, it's
how long were they together before then? Were they high school, college?
No, they met in college. They were both graduate student advisors. They were both what was the term? RAs? They both lived in the dorms with students and stuff. So they were. It's interesting. They were really best friends. They got along so well. They loved being together, and they still do. I'm incredibly lucky that obviously the divorce. My mom was very hurt, and I think felt betrayed. As time passed, She did her own therapy and sort of built a new relationship with my dad. And they, like, my mom and my stepfather and my dad and his partner, the four of them love each other. They're like, if they lived in the same city, I'm sure they'd see each other all the time. Wow. Now they see each other a couple times a year because my mom and my stepfather will go to Portland and visit.
That's so nice.
Yeah. Oh, it
worked out.
It worked out. I'm incredibly lucky.
And they were married for how many years?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think so. I don't know when they got married.
So you think because of what happened in that marriage that your mom afterwards was like reevaluating her life and maybe went to school then to get her degree?
That's a good point. I'm sure that was a big part of it. I think like what she spoke to me about, and I'm sure anybody, you can put yourself in this place, is I think her big feeling was, I'm a middle-aged single mom.
Yeah.
Who's going to want to be with me? So I think that was her big.
And that must have done something to her to go, oh my, the guy I was in love with is gay.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? How do I know if the next one's not going to be gay?
Yeah, I think I can only imagine. I mean, anything. Probably similar to a spouse cheating on you or something like that. Like, I'm sure it's just got to all rock your world. You got to go, what the fuck? Do I know anything? Can I trust people?
What if Sarah was like, hey, I'm a lesbian and I need to leave? That'd be terrible.
I'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah.
Well, hurt. I don't want to be angry.
Well, you've been through something similar already, so you're like, all right, well.
I'd be like, of course.
I know how this goes.
Yeah.
But we're going to be best friends.
That's right. It'll all be fine. It'll be fine. Oh, I'm going to love your partner. We're going to hang out together. It's going to be great.
Are your kids entertainers?
My older daughter. Well, I'm in a weird position. I'm on a kid show on Nickelodeon.
I know you're Thundermans.
That's right. And because of that, this is the first time I've ever done anything that I would describe as actively kid friendly. I don't think I've ever tried to do things that weren't. Yeah. But a lot of the stuff I'd done before, either like sketch or like Reno 911, like a lot of stuff I would say is like, yeah, that's not super appropriate for any child. For some 18-year-olds, it may not be okay.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I've done something that I like getting to share with them.
And to be a superhero.
I'm telling you, as a nerd, it is the perfect like little Venn diagram, that little center circle of it's comedy, it's live audience, it's being a superhero, so it just has all these different parts. There's special effects and stunts. Like as a fan, a big reason why I'm an actor is because I love it. I just think it's the coolest thing in the world. Every time I get to go on any job or like visiting somebody, it's like when you walk onto a set, it's the most exciting thing in the world. The Thundermans shoots on the Paramount lot, and that's a dream come true. You get to go to work at the place where they make the Star Trek. Unbelievable. So because I'm involved with all that, my kids have been to live tapings, and so it's weird. I grew up in the Midwest, so I never saw show busy stuff, but now they have like a front row seat. So my older daughter, she's taking improv classes.
My comedy sports?
No, at a theater in Toluca Lake. And I don't know if Comedy Sports offers it that young. They're probably pretty close to this age, but they're still young.
Second City might.
They might.
In Chicago, I think they do.
And my younger daughter does ballet, but she just the other day, she's like, Daddy, I think I'm going to be an actor. I know, exactly. Exactly. I gasp. And people go like, why? Isn't that great? I'm like, it is great. I mean, I would be excited for them if they said they want to be an actor. I'd be excited if they said they wanted to be a plumber. I don't care what. Sure. As long as they're doing the thing they want to do, that's exciting.
Out of my hair.
Yeah, well, but knowing, all the suffering, the longing, the way I feel like, being
the dues you got to pay to be an actor, especially one that works.
Yeah.
It's a lot of rejection and all that stuff.
All that stuff. I mean, to me, I would say it's worth it. But then when the kids that I love say that they want to do it, I go, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this?
Were your parents supportive of your acting choices?
Yeah, they're pretty supportive. Their big thing was they wanted me to go to college. Their big thing was they wanted to make sure I had essentially something to fall back on. Yeah. But
because you had to figure it all out on your own, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I knew I'm lucky. I knew early on. I figured out when I was like, I don't know why, I was like 12 or 13. I saw Comedy Sports got featured. Comedy Sports is an improv group that I was in. It's in like 20, 25 cities all over the place. Yeah, and it's short form improv. It's very similar to Who's Line.
And it's sort of competitive, faux competitive.
Yeah, it uses a sports match as a structure in that there are two teams of improvisers and they each like take turns. Like EJ's team will do an improvised Shakespeare play for like 4 minutes, and then my team will come up and we'll do an improvised musical, and then the audience decides.
Right.
So I saw that featured on like local TV when I was probably like that 12 or 13. I remember seeing that and going, what is that? They're making up jokes. Like somebody from the audience shouts, insurance salesman, and then they do a funny scene. Right. I was like, that's incredible. That's like discovering life on Mars. Right. So if that ends up being what my kids, how they feel about it, that's awesome. I feel like my older daughter really likes the idea of being the funny person, which is a hard one for me because I'm like,
I'm the funny person.
Oh no, I don't mind that. I want her to be the funny one in the family. That's no problem. I just feel bad because of all, it's like all the heartache that goes with all this dumb shit we do. all the wanting to be, funny, all the wanting to be an actor, and a lot of waiting.
There's a lot
of waiting, a lot of no.
And you've been at this for a while, and this is is this your first regular gig like this? I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, you did a few, but
I had other things that did, but nothing. Anything else that I was a regular on never lasted this long.
Yeah,
I was never a regular on Reno. I was lucky they used me every season.
And in the movie.
Yeah, I was in the movie. But this job is by far like the thing I've had that lasted the longest.
This is season 4.
Yeah, we're halfway through season 4. We just came back. And again, for a kids show, it's unusual. Kids shows, I think, usually stop around 60 or 70 episodes.
You guys are up to 93.
Is that what it is now?
If you count this season.
Wow, look at you, EJ. You're Mr. Maths.
Pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm delighted. And everybody at Nickelodeon is really awesome.
And a lot of episodes a year, too, like at 25, 26.
It's big. Normally what I found is that kids shows kids like reruns. Kids like seeing your favorite SpongeBob. Yeah, it's like, it's the one where Duck season, Wabbit season.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I watched all that stuff. I watched Nickelodeon like crazy. That was my jam.
It's your thing. So them making as many of this is unusual, and I love it. We all get a lot. It's one of those scenarios where you kind of look around the room and go, "Are we all getting along? We all like doing this?" And you're like, "Nobody move, nobody say anything, nobody reference it. We're just going to keep going because as soon as somebody says, like, how come we all get along so well?" That's when it's all going to fall apart.
How come you guys get along so well?
Oh, EJ.
I'm just kidding. What, do you know if you're coming back for a 5th?
I would say it's highly unlikely that we come back for a 5th because of this, because kid shows. But who knows, man? We didn't think we didn't know every step of the way that my complaint is the wrong way to describe it, but it's the one part about this that's been hard is every step of the way we didn't know how long it was going to go for. We have always kind of known about like 12 episodes at a time.
Okay.
So that's, when you look at it back and say we've done 93, that's amazing, but we never knew we were going to do 93. We always knew like, we're going to do 12. Okay, we're going to do 10 more. And then a waiting period. We're coming back. Yay! We're going to do 12 more. Great.
Like in the summer, do you have to wait like a month or two to hear?
The longest we ever had to wait was, I think, between the second and third season, but we waited like a few months to find out, and that's hard.
That's hard,
But and again, like, this kind of goes back to, like,
because you can't. Can you get another job? Like,
the way. And I think this is the same of being on any show. Is like there's, whatever the time they figure out, but it's all everything. Every part of the contract is pre-negotiated in advance, so they know if the show goes 1 season, what you're going to pay. If the show goes 7 seasons, everything is already figured out, and you're held to that show. I think it's like 6 months until 6 months after the show is either delivered to the network or airs. Okay. So basically, what it is they'll let you go if they know it's done, but if they're not sure, you're their employee and you're going to hang out, and that's the deal.
Yeah.
That's that. Again, this is the thing that I would like to be able to spare my kids if they get into, is just that thing of like, well,
or at least warn them.
You're like, I hope I have a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I think that is part of this life.
Yeah. Have you been tempted to include them in the show somehow? Like,
they've each been on it once as like a featured extra or something like that. After that, they have to join unions and stuff like that. And I'm like,
yearly dues and stuff.
For me, I just go back to like growing up as a kid in Wisconsin. I'm like, I think it's okay to just be a kid.
Yeah.
And just, because of the proximity, I want to give them because they want to try and be on the show. I'm like, I can get you onto 1 episode, but beyond that, I'm like, just be a kid.
Are they cool? Are they popular kids because their dad is on the Thundermans? And all those kids must watch that show.
Maybe a little bit. They're just entering the age now that I think kids start watching our show. I think typically kids are more like 10, 11 when they watch the show. So I don't know. I mean, sometimes when I pick them up at school or something, a kid might walk up and say hi, and that is, as an actor of. In any kind of work, that's the best thing in the world. When somebody says, "Hey, I saw your show, I like it," like, what more do you want?
Right.
It's the greatest gift of all. It's so I'm very lucky, very happy about that.
That's good.
Yeah.
How did you and Sarah meet?
We met through a mutual friend. One of her best friends growing up was a woman named Michelle. Michelle lived here and introduced us, and so we had an old-timey courtship because Sarah still lived in Chicago at the time, so and I lived here, and the last person I dated, like my last serious relationship before Sarah, was a woman who lived in Chicago. So I was
with you in Chicago, chicks in Chicago.
Hey man, I like those deep dish broads.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't know. I just there's some.
It's hard doing long distance. I did it for 3 years.
I would not wish it on anyone.
It's very hard.
It's very hard.
And so you guys met, and you guys were already separated.
Well, yeah, she lived in Chicago. I lived here. So. And this is before Facebook. This was the time of Friendster.
FaceTime.
Oh no, Friendster.
Friendster, yeah.
Do you remember Friendster?
Oh, yeah. MySpace.
Yeah, but pre-MySpace, before your top 8, my friend. So basically we sort of looked at each other's profiles on Friendster, thought we would get along. This is our friend Michelle sort of connecting us to. So we. First, we emailed to each other for a month. It was like an old-timey, like I was like a Russian count.
What year is this?
Courting a princess. 2004? 2005? Is that right?
That would be MySpace time. But Friendster maybe. I remember I joined Friendster in 2003.
Okay, so maybe it's around then. It's like 2003, 2004. It's something like that. So we wrote to each other for a month. And then we spoke on the phone for a month, and then we met. So by the time we met, we'd sort of been talking for a couple months, which I think
like online dating.
Kind of, yeah. And so that I think worked very well because we sort of got to know each other.
Were you skeptical to do that because she was so far away, and you're like, well, maybe I should meet somebody?
Well, like I said, because the last relationship I've been was in a long distance relationship with someone from Chicago. So that to me just seemed like that didn't go well.
Why would I do
Why
this
would
again?
I do that same thing again? The same city? Are you crazy? So I was like, it's weird. I had reached a point in my life where I always, like I said before, I always wanted to be a father. I always wanted to be a parent. And I kind of got into my mid-30s and I was like, oh, maybe I'm not going to be. Yeah. And that's, it's upsetting. It's hard to let in. So when I first met Sarah, I was kind of like, well, okay. Like I'd already passed whatever desperation or sadness. I wasn't really worried about it. I was just kind of like, all right, well, I'll meet her. Let's see how it goes. And I really liked her. Yeah. It was just one of those things. I mean, I'm sure it's probably similar to your feelings with Deborah. Like, you meet that person, you're kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
you seem pretty neat. Yeah, okay, let's try that again.
Let's try to figure this out.
Yeah, and
until it doesn't work anymore, I guess.
But I didn't even think that far about it. I was just kind of like, all right, I'm just going to be open to it, and I'm not going to worry about it, because I think that is, for me, I can worry about a lot of stuff.
Sure.
And I think that's sort of like a habit I've developed.
Because you were saying earlier with your dad that somebody's going to leave,
mm-hmm.
and then you're in a relationship that's already complicated with space.
Yeah, so I kind of was like, all right, well, this is odd, but I'm not going to judge it one way or the other. I'm just going to see how it goes. And it went great. Like I said, and especially like when you're emailing each other, like all I wanted to do was be funny. All I wanted to do was like, if I can make her laugh, if I can just be like a funny guy, just this voice on her computer, then that will be good.
Yeah.
And so then we started talking, and it felt, the way it's supposed to, effortless, and you're just kind of like, oh, we could just talk about dumb shit forever.
Yeah.
So when we met, actually in person, it was very quick. It was like, oh, this is great. And so within a few months, we talked about it, and she decided to move out here. So then, so
did she have a job there that she left?
She had just become part owner of her family's business. Oh yeah, whoa. No, my timing was horrible. She had just finished all like dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Got business cards.
Oh yeah. So
what was the business that she left?
It's called Standard and Associates. They do psychological testing and profiling for people who want to become police officers, firefighters, and correctional officers. Okay. And it's based out of Chicago, but I think they're in like 1,000 different cities all over the United States. Yeah,
that sounds important.
It is, and it's strangely enough the same kind of psychological testing that they have now started using on reality shows.
Except they hire the people that fail.
Well,
on the reality shows,
they don't know. They don't want them to be like real crazy. I don't think they mind if they're a little bit crazy. But so because of that weird connection, when Sarah moved out here, she started working as a PA in reality TV, really? And they found out her background, and she immediately started doing testing.
No kidding. What is she booking for? Like, where she work?
She's not doing it now, but at the time, like she worked for Mark Burnett, so she did like Survivor, Amazing Race.
Oh, yeah. Those are good ones.
There was
there's less crazy
boxing one. Yeah, she did. There was a rock star one on CBS.
I remember that.
So she's done a bunch of those. She took one season. She took the contestants for Survivor. Like she was part of like the casting people who like put them in seclusion, flew them to I think China was the season. Yeah, all that stuff.
That's cool.
And now her dad, that's now his side. He's retired, but he has picked up a side gig now where he's a psychologist who tests people to be on reality shows.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that funny?
You want to be on The Voice? I know the doctor who can forbid you from ever being on it.
That's my...
Was Bono just in the room?
Maybe.
Was U2 just doing a Rose Bowl concert of the Joshua Tree just for me?
You're welcome. Do you know they're touring? Joshua Tree?
I know. Did you get tickets?
I did.
You did?
Uh-huh.
I thought they sold out in like 2 minutes. How'd you get them?
I got I signed up for their membership so I can get pre-tickets. So I was like, I'll do that.
Yeah?
It's like $50 to get a pre-membership,
You can take Deborah?
No, she... Well, I don't even think she'll be around. No, I bought one ticket and then 2 of my friends are going.
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah. And then do you think you'll go up on stage and maybe you'll do like In the Name of Love?
In the Name of Love.
EJ.
Huh?
Bono was just here. Where did you go? He was just here.
Thank you.
Oh,
flattered.
God.
Flattered.
That's going to be a fun concert. When is it? Yeah. When is that? Is that soon, right?
I want to say March.
Ooh, that's very soon.
I wrote it on my calendar, so I'll have to see. I can't wait.
That'll be a fun show.
It's going to be good.
I think so. I've seen them live at some big stadium. God, back in the 90s. Did you see them?
Okay, did you see them?
No, back in a long time ago.
They were here like a year or 2 ago.
No, I didn't.
I saw them 2 nights. They played like 5 nights.
Really?
At the Forum? I want to say the Forum. But I saw them 2 of those nights.
And is it a different show every night? Or do they play through the same set list?
They played mostly the same thing. I think 1 or 2 things were different.
I would think if you're going to see U2 at this point, there are probably 10 or 11 songs you expect them to play.
Yeah.
If you don't play...
Name of Love.
Yeah.
Sunday Bloody Sunday.
Sure. Probably Crocodile Rock.
Sure.
Wouldn't you want... I mean...
Crocodile, wait, is that the same band?
You'll see. Just what happens is when you walk up on stage, just start singing Crocodile Rock. It will be the greatest concert those people have ever seen.
Do you go to concerts a lot? Do you like? I love live theater.
I do. We don't go.
Music.
Unfortunately, you hear this a lot from parents with young kids. We don't go to as much as we do. I'm trying to think. We just saw
Taylor Swift.
Oh, sure. Tay-Tay?
Tay-Tay. Bring the kids to Tay-Tay.
It's interesting because I'm working on a show with now all teenagers.
Right.
I'm sort of weirdly back into the culture, right. But it's really it's upsetting to always be the old person going, "What are you listening to?"
Right. What is that?
Who? DJ Snake.
That's not music.
The fuck kind of name is DJ Snake? Don't listen to that. That's stupid. No, it's Justin Bieber. What?
The Pink Floyd. Remember Pink Floyd?
You guys, listen. There is a classic Chubby Checker 45 in my dressing room. Come in. We're going to sit down. We're going to listen to the classics. Yeah, but it's seeing how
rock.
Sure, seeing how fast their little hands can tweet and Instagram and stuff like that. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Pretty
crazy. Is your daughters doing that too?
Oh no. The older daughter has asked for a phone. I don't know what. I'm sure we'll talk to other friends of ours who have kids. My guess is probably 10 or 11 or 12, somewhere in there where you sort of as a parent go, oh, they need to have a phone because they are now going places and I need to know where they are. Or I need to feel like I can reach them if I need to.
And you could put the tracker on it.
Oh, yeah. Find My iPhone, EJ. You got that turned on there on your laptop? You got that Find My iPhone turned
Sure.
on? All right.
Sure.
You don't know.
You don't know. It's good for kids.
What if you, later on, you accidentally leave your laptop behind your piano? You can't find it.
I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
I know it'll be in this area of the block.
Oh, yeah. According to Google Maps, it's definitely here in the house. That's fine. You'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Are you performing at all?
No. I just finished UCB classes in New York.
Oh, no kidding. Cool.
And I want to perform more. I actually just submitted to a couple of festivals.
Good for you.
So I want to perform more.
Okay.
Remember Shooting the Shit? You did Shooting the Shit.
Yeah, I did. I love that show.
You did a good one with me and Josh Funk. Do you remember that?
I thought it was just one with. I thought we did one where it was just you and me. Am I cuckoo?
You might have done. You maybe did too. I specifically remember you and I believe
and Josh Funk. Could be.
And you guys ended up as we were all friends.
Oh,
You guys ended up as a couple.
Yes, that's right.
And I was a little offended that I wasn't chosen.
They considered part of the couple.
I was like, why? Well, now I'm left out.
Hey, you know what? Love does what it wants, EJ. Oh, because I think it was at one of those shows. I think wasn't there maybe right when you first started seeing Deborah?
Maybe.
Because I remember
probably
meeting her and asking what was going on. And she said that she had just been cast in this HBO pilot thing. And I was like, what? And she was like, the True Blood. And I remember like not knowing anything about that, but knowing that it was from Alan Ball. Yeah. And I liked American Beauty.
Yeah.
So I was like, that'll be fun. Yeah, that should be all right. That should be okay. Turned out pretty good. Worked out pretty well. But I remember like just having that conversation with him. That's really cool. Yeah. That's a good thing. Good for her.
Yeah. And I thought I would go to Chicago and do improv and figure out my life because I was, refiguring out my life.
Right.
So I was like, well, she's got this booming career that I'm sure is going to go well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get in the way of that.
Right.
So we were going to break up when I moved.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go figure out my life, and you are going to have a great life, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And best to you. And
did you like tip your cap to her? Madam, I love thee. I shall see you in a fortnight. All right.
And then we talked about it, and we sort of we agreed on it, and then she changed her mind, and she made me change my mind.
Good.
And that was that.
Well, I mean, she's the dungeon master. No,
you can't argue with the dungeon master.
I actively would discourage you from arguing with the dungeon master.
So it went pretty well.
Yeah, I think so.
Let me ask you.
All right.
I remember I moved you many years ago.
I do remember that.
When I was a furniture mover here in L.A.
I do remember jobs. Yeah, that was when I moved in with Sarah. That was when Sarah moved here.
That was your first move?
Yeah, that's we moved in together. And it was what I remember is we only moved like 10 blocks away. It was not a big move. It was a close.
I remember that specifically. I remember this big shelf that was very hard.
Oh, the big square thing. I still have that. That IKEA, it's like 16 cubes.
It's big. It's at least 6 feet tall. Maybe
yes, I think it is 6 by 6, and then it's divided into
4 blocks each,
something like that. Yeah.
16 blocks. That was hard to move. That was rough.
Are we going to go through all the things that I made you move?
Yeah, I have made a list.
Too many beds, Chris. Too many beds. Why don't you purge some of those comic books? Speaking of which, so in that move, you were in an apartment with Steve Agee at the time. That's right.
And you had piles, like stacks high of comic books.
So many
comic books. And I'm like, holy shit, those are a lot of comic books. What are you going to do with those? You're like, I'm going to get rid of them. If you want any, you can take them. And I took all of them.
Yeah, you did.
Because I was like, I can't believe you're getting rid of all these comic books.
Well, what are you going to do?
You're going to do what I do, and you keep them forever.
I know, but then what?
And then you sell them.
Did you sell them?
Well, I probably sold some. I probably sold a lot of them.
I would say that those. I don't know. Those are all the books after I moved here. So I don't know.
But by the way, that was 1,000 comic books you gave me that day. 1,000 comic books.
I believe it.
And at the time, I had stopped buying comics. For like a while.
I remember it kind of like when you were saying to me, and I remember being like, EJ is an angel sent from heaven. Because I'm trying, because when you, especially, as a comic book sort of nerd type person, you don't want to just get rid of those things. They have in addition to the fun entertainment value, there is sort of a weird sentimental, but those are my comics. Yeah. I'm not going to just get rid of them. So,
babies.
Yeah, I think part of the reason I had such a giant stack was because I was like, I knew I wasn't going to keep them. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know what to do with them, and I kept on going why isn't there like a library that you could just donate? Don't you want to be like that guy who just walks in are there many orphans at the library today? Have all these comics, children. Don't you want to be that guy?
I'd rather have a parent.
Well,
you get comic books.
Well, you can read about the interesting daredevil of Hell's Kitchen. They say he's quite a character. You'll see. Read about it.
And you read all those comics.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd read them and just kind of.
Well, I think like most people do with comic books, I read them and then kept them in a big stack, and then that turned into many stacks, hidden under my bed and in the closet and everything. And at some point, as opposed to the comics that I had as a kid, they're not really
sentimental.
Well, they're just not going to collect any value.
Right.
I feel like the comics that really are worth something because nobody thought they had any value to them, and almost all of them got destroyed. And so, but now here we are, whatever it is, 75 years later, and people are like, hey, do you like that Wonder Woman? I still have a collection issue of #1 because all the other #1s got, burned in a couch fire in 1950 or whatever.
Right.
But we now live in an age where as you buy your comic books, they give you a nice card back and a Mylar bag. So none of them are really going to accrue any kind of crazy value because almost every issue of
a DC or Marvel.
Yeah, or of Sabretooth, let's say. Things will go up at Harley Quinn was just in Suicide Squad. So I'm sure those special first appearance of Harley Quinn's, I'm sure those things go up. Yeah. But for the most part, comics are going to just sit at their $3 or $4 value.
Yeah, thereabouts. So you see the stacks I'm about to sell. I'll sell them in stacks.
Yeah, that seems to be the thing to do, right?
Unless I know it's got some value to it, then I'll maybe sell it singularly, something like that. But yeah, if I can get if on eBay or something, it goes for $4 or something. I'm not going to get $4 for it.
Yeah.
So I'll just put it in a stack with other $4 and hopefully I'll get $30 or $40.
And do you have luck with that? People buying lots of books?
Sometimes.
That's interesting.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But I got to sell it.
Do you want more? I probably can give you some more.
I'll take them.
Do you want them?
I'll take them, yeah.
All right.
I'll take them.
You heard it here. Negotiated.
Do you have a lot? Do you still buy
Oh, yeah. Every week.
hard copies?
I go every week. Although I'm starting to, a friend of mine about 2 years ago, he wasn't trying to sell me on it, but he was like, I'm making the switch to graphic novels. This was him. He's like, I'm not buying weekly books because, as you get older, you get busy, you don't read as much. And I do find that when I read stuff, I tend to save up 6 or 7 or 8 issues because...
Or read it at once because you read it quick.
You read it quick, but also I don't have the retention of where were we a month ago? It doesn't stick
Marvel's
with me.
Good because it does say in the last issue blah 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 blah, and I need those. DC's got to get on board with that too. I think.
Come on, hey Time Warner, what's TikTok, my friend? How are we supposed to know what Plastic Man did last month? Are you watching Justice League Action, by the way?
No. Is that the one
That's
with
the new
Rachel Kimsey? You know Rachel?
No, who's that? I don't know who that is.
She dated Crowley for a long time.
Oh, I don't know. Is she Wonder Woman?
She's Wonder Woman.
Oh, no kidding.
Wonder Woman.
It's a friend of mine. One of the guy who does the voice of the Rabbit on our show is the voice of Plastic Man.
Oh, that's cool.
It's fun.
Is it good?
They're short, 15-minute. They're short episodes.
What is that? What time is it? It might just be
6:41.
Let me see. It might just be a package. Hold on.
Yeah, go.
So it's these. I guess they're 2 kids that are trying to raise money for college.
Oh, like candy bars or something like that?
I have no idea. I couldn't see them because it was so dark outside, and I didn't open the door all the way because I'm I don't know what's going on.
Can we yell at him?
Yeah, will you? Yeah. Mr. Thunderman.
Shake my fist. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that every child would love that.
Getting back to what we were discussing.
Comic books.
So I took all those comic books, and at the time I was moving furniture part-time and also working as a telemarketer.
Right, I remember that.
And it was horrible. That was a horrible job, telemarketing. But I was allowed to read. We all had magazines and stuff like that. And so I brought comics with me. Stacks of comics. And I fell in love, thanks to you, with Brian Michael Bendis.
Oh, that's right. And
I read the Avengers Disassembled, which was amazing.
Love that.
And I fell in love with Jessica Jones on Alias, and she's become a top 5.
It's a great character.
Yeah.
And that whole world. And it's fascinating now. Didn't they just announce that he's going to start doing a Defenders book? Which I think is...
That makes sense.
So interesting because he had... I don't think he ever wrote the Iron Fist series, but he wrote Jessica Jones, he wrote Daredevil, he wrote Luke Cage. So to see him... Yeah, but to see him now, specifically with that sort of that group of characters, to sort of see it be
He's very familiar with them.
Oh yeah,
he's very familiar.
And also he loves of his own like self-published books. He loves crime and noir, and he likes that sort of that gritty street level thing. It's gonna be so great.
That early Daredevil stuff of his is very so good.
So good. And like Gaydos, Michael Gaydos, who does that art.
Yeah, I got to meet him. He's a really good guy.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would imagine you probably got to meet all kinds of cool people.
Yeah.
Ooh, who's the coolest person you met?
Chris Tallman.
Oh, you heard it here first.
You're welcome. Oh, who's the coolest person I got to meet? Recently, I got to meet Leah Thompson and Christopher Lloyd.
Really?
Yep.
What was that like?
That was really cool. Well, I met Leah Thompson because her husband, who also did my podcast, was a director on True Blood.
Oh, okay. Who's her husband?
Howie Deutsch.
Oh, no kidding.
Mm-hmm. Do you know Howie?
I know who he is. Okay. Didn't he direct? Wait, did he do
Some Kind of Wonderful?
Yeah, he did Some Kind of Wonderful.
That's
yeah,
how we met.
Interesting.
It's a good podcast. Go check it out.
All right.
And so I met her at a premiere briefly. Mm-hmm. She was super nice, and then I've since then met her 2 times. And the last time was at the Chicago Wizard World Comic Con that Deborah did.
Oh, neat.
And she's so nice. And then Christopher Lloyd was there, and he came up to say goodbye to her, and I was like,
I would just like gently wrap my arm around his shoulder and be like, "We're best friends. We're always going to be together."
I kissed his cheek.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah,
I love him.
He was very nice. He was very quiet and very like. I think they both felt bad because they were saying goodbye.
Yeah,
they were not going to see each other for a while.
Yeah,
so I think there was something going on there, but it was people like that. It's really cool.
Oh, Christopher Lloyd, he's the best.
Oh, I got to meet Scott Glenn recently.
No kidding. Oh, because he's that casting. I mean,
so good.
What? Not that they weren't working hard at it, but they stumbled into a little piece of something with that.
I so badly want to get him on my podcast. So badly.
Sure, you will at some point.
I wanted to ask him that night, and I kind of chickened out. So I thought I'd go through his people. I'm going to try that.
Sure.
But he was really nice. Him and his wife were super nice.
I think all you got to do is just mention to him that you have a podcast. All you got to do is be like, yeah, Daredevil's been on it, and Karen Page. Like, all you got to do is start. I think, especially with actors, all you got to start doing is going like, yeah, everybody,
everyone's on it. You,
yeah, everybody thinks so, and he's going to like, well, why aren't I on the show? Interesting. These are your headphones and record.
Yeah, so some really cool, some cool people. And I imagine you have too. We've been at this for a while.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Even Steve Agee. What was living with Steve like? He mentioned living with you.
Did he?
He was on here.
Talking about it?
Yeah. I don't remember what he said exactly. It's been a while.
I just told this story on another thing. Steve really liked scaring the shit out of me. We live together, and I'm, by my nature, sort of like, I get scared very easily. I get jumpy very easily. The example I always use is that I used to, do you remember Resident Evil?
Sure.
So playing Resident Evil, I played it like a year after it came out or something. So I'm playing Resident Evil, and the lights are on, it's a beautiful day, and all of a sudden I become aware of the fact that my roommates are standing at the very edge of my peripheral vision. So basically they're like, I can tell they want to watch me play, but they don't want to disturb me. And so,
are you how do you play? Are you animated when you play?
I'm just sitting there playing it. But now I know something is about to happen. Some horrible thing, because they're not just casually walking by. They're they're waiting for this one moment, and of course, 30 seconds later, a monster, it's a cut scene where a monster jumps out and comes racing towards me. I scream because I'm so fucking scared. Because, they do, hey, here comes that monster. The sound gets really loud. And so I throw the controller up into the air and freak out. So that's Agee's victim. So Agee would do this thing where I would get home, especially after doing shows and stuff. It's 2 a.m. and you're tired and you're coming home and you're eating fast food. So I would drive in to our apartment, and we have assigned parking spaces, and I would always look and see, is Agee home or isn't he home? Mm-hmm. And what he started doing was parking around the back side of the building. So I would look and see an empty space and think, Agee's not here, everything's fine.
That's terrifying to be afraid of your roommate like that.
And he cackles about it. So walk inside, sit down. I would turn on the lights, walk around. Hello. Okay, nobody's here. I'm fine. Sit. And he would wait like 10 or 15 minutes. He would wait a while. And so you're kind of like sleepy, and there's a closet in the living room. And
in the closet?
He'd be waiting in the closet for a long
for like half an hour?
like 10 minutes or something like that. And so and all of a sudden, he would throw up on the door and go, and scream, and I would jump out of my skin. And he would do that to me all the time.
Why didn't you get in the same closet? I mean, you could have...
Well, I would look. And from that point on, I would look in that closet, and then he'd be hiding in a different closet. I never found him ahead of time. And I think also, I must have tried to scare him back at some point and done a very poor job. I think he just knew, like, he would come home and be like, all right, asshole, where are you? And I'm sure I'd be like in the same closet going, I'm gonna scare. And he'd throw up in there and go, get out.
Get out of here. You make me sick.
Oh, it's just...
How long did you live together for?
A few years. I lived first in that same apartment with another friend of mine, Kurt Scholler.
I've heard that name.
But he's in The Resistance, which performs at I.O., I think, on Friday or Saturday nights. Okay. So Kurt and I lived together, and then Kurt moved out to move in with his girlfriend, so then Agee moved in. And so I'd say Agee and I probably lived together another, like, 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
It's great.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. If you ever have a chance to live with Steve Agee, you should. Oh, wow. You're just making a weird face.
I don't know about that.
Why? You don't think anyone should live with Agee? Why?
I don't know.
He's just like a 6'6" giant scare monster.
He's very scary.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wearing a Guardians of the Galaxy shirt, and he is in the next Guardians of the Galaxy.
He should.
Very exciting.
I saw some pictures of like the Reavers. If you go on to YouTube, you can see like they put all the panels up.
Okay.
So you can see they had the Reavers appear at the Guardians, actually at the Marvel panel.
Yeah.
In character, so you can watch that whole thing on YouTube if you just look up. I'm assuming Comic-Con 2016.
I can't wait for it.
I'm really excited for him. I think it's going to be great.
Can't wait. He put up a thing last year, I think, maybe the year before, for April Fool's Day on Facebook. Mm-hmm. He put up a thing that said, all right, I can finally announce this thing now. And it was like a fake headline of Steve Agee joins Blade Runner 2. Right? And he photoshopped something. He did some.
I don't remember that at all.
So I wrote on underneath that. People were writing things, and I was like, April Fool's, like obvious. It's an obvious.
Right.
It's April Fool's.
Right.
You're a comedian. He messages me back privately and says, "Fuck you, asshole. It's a good joke." You ruined a good joke, he said.
Oh.
And I was like, sorry, Steve.
But wait, had they even announced the new Blade Runner at that point?
I think they were just starting to announce stuff. Yeah, like a year ago.
Have you seen the new trailer? The little teaser thing for it? There's a new teaser for it. It's been out, I think, maybe a month or something. It's basically just little bits of footage, but
I don't think so.
It looks good.
Does it?
It really does. I'm excited about it.
Oh, what else are you excited about coming up? All the Marvel stuff.
All the Marvel stuff.
Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Avengers.
Defenders I'm really looking forward to, because I feel like we've seen them build up each of these characters, so I'm really kind of curious to see how they connect. I'm really curious to see Sigourney Weaver. I love her. I love
a few feet from Sigourney Weaver.
Really?
Because when they announced her at the Comic-Con,
that's right.
Panel, I was backstage and stuff with Deborah, and she goes, "Did you hear?" Before she just found out, like before she gets on stage, she goes, "Did you hear?" I go, "Hear what?" She goes, "I'm not going to tell you," and she doesn't tell me. I learned like on stage
as she walks on stage.
She walks out, and I'm like, "What?"
Oh,
Sigourney Weaver. And then I go backstage, and there's Sigourney Weaver.
Oh my god!
And a really cool thing was Deborah goes to say hi to Sigourney Weaver and taps her on the shoulder and wants to say hi to her, and she turns around and she goes, "Oh, I'm such a big fan of yours on True Blood."
Oh my god!
Terrific. And she's like,
"Holy cow, that's incredible!" Oh my god, how exciting is that?
I can't wait.
Is Defenders filming now?
Yes.
And then, I mean, whatever the hell that's going to be
Punisher
after that.
too. They're filming Punisher at the same time.
Is Punisher going to be out after Defenders?
I don't know how that's going to work out.
Okay.
I honestly, and if I did, I probably aren't.
You wouldn't be allowed to say anyways. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm really fascinated to see what the next wave is. I'm sure they can't believe they got all the way to Defenders. Not that they had doubts about it.
That's a big project.
It's a big project, but also, like, in the same way with the Marvel movies, to go like, wow, we did a full season of that, we did a full season of Jessica Jones, we did another season of Daredevil, like, to make all those things. I know we still haven't even seen anything about Iron Fist. That's crazy.
That's coming out soon in March, I think.
Is it March?
I think something like that. I saw a trailer and stuff for it.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer, but I just mean like did
you see my picture on Facebook or whatever it was? It was me with the 4 Defenders.
Yes, were you there for the film for when they took that EW cover?
No, but I was there for the Comic-Con panel. They brought all the Defenders up, and then Sigourney Weaver, and I was there and backstage. I was like, yeah. They were taking pictures for Finn Jones's Instagram, and I was like, can I please? And
they were all like, EJ!
You big nerd, get over here.
Of course. Come on, the picture of you with Deborah is it the Daredevil premiere when you wore the... Mm-hmm. Come on. That is the best of all time.
I thought it was pretty good.
It's great.
I dressed up as Matt Murdock.
Yeah, you did. And you look like him, too.
Yeah.
And you're there with Karen Page. I mean, it's just...
Page.
It's... How was that? I feel like I talked to you about this a little bit. What was that like for you when you found out that she was going to be Karen?
I was so excited.
The best, right?
Because I was excited already to hear that they were going to do this.
That it was a thing.
It was a thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's perfect because Netflix can do whatever Netflix wants to do. They're not, they're not, buckled down with like network timing or whatever.
Right.
And plus, you could like curse on it and get a little violent. It sounded perfect. And so when she was auditioning for stuff, it was touch and go because she was still doing True Blood.
That's what I remember. The timing of it was nuts. Didn't she finish True Blood and then go immediately into Daredevil?
About a day and a half later, she flew to New York.
That must have been.
And then that was a fitting and a reading and stuff. And
right, and I'm sure they have to make like a hair decision about her.
Yeah, well, they had to dye her hair.
Right.
She was red.
Right.
And then they had to go blonde.
Right.
So, yeah, that all happened from the end of True Blood to the beginning of Daredevil, or maybe she filmed the first episode within that week or something. I don't know. It was like crazy, very, very quick.
I just, especially in the world of television where we so deeply associate our actors with characters, that's such a rare thing for someone to move so quickly from one very established big pop culture character to another one, and nobody batted an eye. It was not a thing. Normally, I feel like you get the opposite. Normally, you get the backlash of like, you can't be Zorro, you're Buck Rogers, or whatever. You know what I mean? Right. Like, people are like, nah. We don't like seeing, again, in television and in film sometimes too, like that. I guess it's like a form of overexposure where you're just like, no, I just saw you on that thing. And Deborah, straight through that, no problem whatsoever. People are like, I love her on True Blood, I love her on Daredevil.
Worked out very well. It's still working out. And we did like long distance for like 6 months when she was in New York. I didn't live there at the time. She was staying with her parents. I was staying here. We flew and visited. Renovated the house while she was gone.
Turned out pretty good.
Oh, it's nice. Who would you want to be superhero-wise? Who's your favorite? Do you have like a
who would I want to be? I want to be Lex Luthor.
What? Why?
Oh, no. Lex Luthor's a great character.
He's so bad.
Exactly, but...
You want to be bad?
I think the reason I'm drawn to that character is because it's like you have to make an audience believe that a regular human being thinks he can beat Superman. You know what I mean?
Delusional?
Yeah, delusional, but also like he doesn't necessarily have invulnerability or strength, but he has what he considers to be a super brain. He's like, I'm gonna outsmart the bulletproof man. You know what I mean? Like, I love that. And there's something about figuring out the ego of that kind of character. I love that. Like, yeah, when I was growing up, my favorite characters were Batman and Spider-Man for sure.
Yeah, Batman's still my
oh yeah, I did. But like when I look at myself and just sort of like, you know, I'm always kind of playing sort of like comedy jolly characters. There really isn't a lot of that in the world of superheroes.
Yeah.
But if I could be anybody in those things, yeah, fuck yeah, I'd love to. Oh my god. I mean, that's part of why I'm so happy with Thundermans is like I get to put on a Lycra suit and a cape, and they hand you. It's the best thing in the world. They hand you breakaway props, so it looks like a real bat or whatever. Right. But then you do, you know, you have to like squeeze it, and it's interesting because they're made. They have to be. These props have to be strong enough to retain their shape, so they don't just crumble.
Right.
So then, as the actor, you're kind of like, all right, yeah, okay. When they call action, I'm gonna crush the cinder block. So you start pushing on it, and it doesn't crumble right away, and you have like that anxiety moment of like, oh shit, am I not strong enough to break the breakaway prop? So then you really turn on the juice, and it just turns into dust in your hands. And even though you know it's pretend, you're wearing a ballet leotard with the zipper, and you're like, it doesn't matter, because in that moment you're like, oh, I'm a superhero.
Fucking severe.
And you take a step and you feel the little pebbles and stuff underneath your boot, and you're like, this is the best. It's so much fun. And flying and all that stuff, it's great.
Do you dress like that for Halloween? That'd be funny if you walked around.
Would it be funny? Would it be maybe a little weird or sad?
How about this? Dress as Thunderman, hide in Steve Agee's closet.
Oh, EJ, I like this idea.
Burst out.
Oh, if I would definitely dress as Thunderman and scare Steve Agee. Oh, I would love to do that.
That'd be hilarious.
I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, I like being Thunderman.
What do you think of the DC universe?
The cinematic
shows and stuff like that.
I think they have so much great existing material, meaning both characters and worlds and stories. I feel like maybe like a lot of people kind of wondering like, why can't you guys get this together? Why can't? And it's impossible not to put it next to Marvel.
Yeah.
But let's do that.
Yeah.
To put it next to Marvel, what I feel like Marvel's doing is Marvel's looking at what they have in terms of characters, stories, worlds, and going, that's a great one. Let's figure out the best way to refine that to its essence and put it into a movie. Whereas I feel like DC a lot of times going like, you know, I bet you it'd be pretty cool if we maybe made it a little bit gritty. Like, and I feel like they take what already exists and then try and spice it up somehow.
I think they take, you know, Chris Nolan's great trilogy.
Yeah.
And that,
I like the first two a lot. I didn't like the last one.
I like all three.
All right.
And take like that feeling.
Yeah, he made it very real.
Very real and not, you know, colorful and very opposite of Marvel and not many jokes really. Or
more like a Michael Mann movie. I mean, I feel like
exactly.
Because like Heat, I think was a big inspiration for Dark Knight.
I could see that totally.
Oh yeah.
And then so Zack Snyder is probably like, oh yeah, let's make it dark because we're already kind of going there. People are already used to that. That's successful. And
Nolan produced the Superman movies too. I think
he produced, and his brother
helped write him
scripts. Or
I wouldn't be surprised if Warner Brothers wanted him to continue on and do the Superman movies, and he was like, "I'll produce them." So I think yes, they are probably in sort of a similar world.
Yeah,
and I don't think it works.
And yet, the TV shows are very colorful.
Oh, I love The Flash. Do you watch The Flash?
I watch Flash.
I like Flash a lot. I think a lot of it comes from that kid. That guy. Yeah, Grant Gustin.
Good. And they're about to do a musical episode.
I know. I'm very excited about that.
They can both sing.
Yeah, she's great. I love her. From Supergirl?
Supergirl, Melissa Benoist.
That's how you pronounce it. I don't know. I think she's great. I haven't gotten as into Arrow. I watched Arrow when it first started, and I just again with kids, it's just like it didn't grab me quite in the same way. I feel like Flash feels like fun. Not that Arrow feels bad, but Flash to me, by comparison, feels like fun. Yeah. Flash to me feels like, oh, he's having fun being the Flash. They're having fun being a family as a team. And it's an energy thing, too, where he's running. Mm-hmm. It's like there's a lot of energy to that. Yeah. Even if you're just passively watching on a couch, it's like, oh, I just got a shot myself, Yeah, it's brighter. I think part of the reason that Flash works for me so well is Jesse L. Martin. Yeah, I love that guy. Because when the show first started, I feel like such a great actor because he believed that this was real, because he believed there was a Flash. Like, he gave it the heart that I feel like that show really took off with. So yeah, if all those DC shows continue to do well, that would be great. I would love. Nice. I love those, and the Marvel shows too. Like I've heard this so many times, but this is a good time for us nerds. Yep, it sure is. Oh my god, it sure is. It's fun. A couple more things, and I'll let you go. All right. I mean, I have a million. I could have you here another 2 hours, but I won't. So you have your own podcast. I do. On Howl. On the Howl FM network. It's called. Oh yeah, I like. Do you listen to this stuff on there? What do you like to listen to on Howl? Mark Maron. So good. But I've listened to your podcast, and I had Paul Britton in the other day, and I listened to his podcast. How's his? It's called Mr. Right. I've heard of it. I haven't heard it. It's fun. I'm recording new episodes now. Yeah, it's called Next Level, and I really like it. I just had an idea. I wasn't even really trying to come up with a show. I was just talking to. Do you know Matt Gorley? No. He's a friend of mine. I know him through improv and stuff, and he does a lot of stuff. He's from Super Ego. Okay. And he's been on Spontaneous Nation a bunch of times with Paul Tompkins. And I was just saying to him, like, you need to do a talk show where, like, I'm your fan. So we're going to talk about what you like, and how that makes you who you are. Because I feel like every time you see in like a celebrity interview, anytime they're promoting a thing or whatever, like it's fine, but then all of a sudden as an interview wraps up, like the interviewer will sort of say like, okay, and then coming up later on, like the Moody Blues are on, and like George Clooney goes, oh my God, I love the Moody Blues. Right. You know what I mean? Like when you see people that you like or admire all of a sudden becoming human. Right. Get excited and passionate about a thing that, even though I don't care about the Moody Blues, but seeing them be excited about the thing they like, I feel like is super humanizing, and it's exciting to, even though I don't know, or I may not even be a fan of that thing, to hear you talk about it, I think is really exciting. Yeah. And so it's a great idea. Thanks. Yeah. So it's like, so I'm your fan, so we talk about the things that you're into, and at some point we then bring in someone that you are a fan of. Yeah. And I like that. I like that idea. We've had some good guests: Paget Brewster, Paul Tompkins, John Cryer. Dana Snyder, who does a bunch of voiceover stuff. Dana brought in Beach Bum Barry, who I had never heard of before, but he apparently sort of helped organize and make the tiki bar culture what it is now. That was fascinating. Yeah, I just heard all about the rum and and I was just I think I said before, I was just in Paris over Christmas, and we went to an American tiki bar in Paris, and they had Beach Bum Berry mentioned by name on the menu. They had like a little menu, and then they had a Beach Bum Berry drink, and I was just like, holy shit, I learned something. I learned something for my own show. Oh my God, that's incredible. That's exciting too. Super exciting, yeah. Like I've talked to you today, and I feel like I learned a lot about you. We've known each other a long time. We have, long time. But we never get to talk like this very often. I feel like that's what podcasts are. You really sit down and hunker down with somebody. I like it. I like it too. Okay, so in you did some your early stuff is on like the Jamie Kennedy Experiment. That's like where I first saw you. Before I moved to LA, I think I remember you from there specifically. Yeah, that was, God, when did I mean, I'm sure it's on IMDb, early 2000s, but I don't remember exactly when. That was one of the like early like regular jobs that I had. I was on the first season, I think, of that show.
I was working with Jamie and all that.
Oh, he was great.
I thought that was great for him, especially.
Oh, it was.
I thought he was awesome at all these characters.
Yeah, it was a perfect use there. I've been lucky. I worked with him, and I worked with David Alan Grier, and both of those guys have like a knack for characters. I feel like David Alan Grier, his perfect thing would be like another Living Color or some sketch show. I did a season of Chocolate News with him on Comedy Central, and like him becoming those characters, my favorite part of that job was he would have to go through like 2 or 3 hours of deep prosthetics to become all these people. Right. And then I would get to sit and we would actually get to improvise. Like we would shoot whatever the script was and we'd have an extra 10 minutes. And my favorite thing was I'm now going to throw weird ass questions at David Alan Grier dressed in the 300-pound fat suit, and it was always really fun. So Jamie Kennedy was again adept at that. I didn't like the hidden camera part was hard because the reveals always made me sad.
Right.
Well, because you feel you've been facing
you pranked them.
You've been lying to their faces, and my job more often than not on that show was not to be like the weirdo character, but like they would have some weird interaction with Jamie, and I would walk up and go, I know that guy is so crazy, right? I don't get it. I don't know why people get so weird like that. Anyways, let's talk about it. Sitting with Crossballs. It was that same thing. Like I was just like,
about to bring up Crossballs.
Yeah. One of my main jobs was like, I know people they see a camera and they get all fucking squirrely. In any case, you're doing great. Don't worry about it.
Well, Crossballs was an interesting one because it was like a news show.
Yeah, like a crossfire, like a pundit, talking heads
You're
thing.
the mediator,
right?
And then a real person has a beef with something, and then a UCB guy would be a character.
Yeah,
not the guy. The real guy is not in on the joke.
No,
at all.
No. Yeah, and they're arguing against like Matt Besser or Barry Birdsong or Jerry Minor or Andy Daly. Yeah, like these really talented actor improvisers who can go deep inside of a character and present really bizarre logic. And then at the end you go, hey, and we were making fun of you, or it was just a joke. Yeah. So more often than not, like I would have a real person at the end of those things kind of like turn to the producer and go, oh, this is really fun, this is great. And then they'd look and make eye contact with me, and I was like, oh, they're wishing that I was dead. Because they thought I was their friend.
I didn't fully understand. I went to like 2 or 3 tapings.
Yeah.
And I did not fully understand the first time I went what it was.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in like the front row, and I'm just waiting for the show to start. I look around and I see you with like your onto the side, and I waved to you, and you like you didn't wave back, but you made eye contact, acknowledged that you saw me, and then put your head down.
They're like, I acknowledge you as a fellow human being, EJ. I cannot be your friend right now. I am about to lie and break people's hearts.
I did not understand that.
That's okay.
And then I don't know if it was that show or the one after I saw, but Laura Kraft was a producer.
She wrote and produced in the show.
And she saw me in the crowd and had like somebody come up to me and say, hey, ask this question as like a thing.
Oh.
I think the guy was like, do you want to ask a question? I was like, no. I don't.
I actively do not.
And then the guy left and came back and said, Laura says you have to ask this question. I was like, okay, I guess I'll ask a question.
Crafty's playing.
I felt very awkward doing it.
Yes.
Because I was like, it's okay. I don't need to do this. You were on one of my favorite shows ever, Angel.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun.
And you played, what kind of monster was that? You played.
We were, I think, Damonites or something like that. We were very similar to a traditional like red horned devil type character. Yeah. It was the first season, and like there was a sidekick guy on that show, so our episode was sort of fleshing out his character. The idea was, in the cold open, you find out he actually is married because this woman shows up and she says, you need to sign our divorce papers. Right. So the whole episode is he and Angel kind of go to meet the new family that she is marrying into. And of course, the reveal is we are all monsters, and our tradition is we must eat the former husband before our brother can become the new husband. But it was super fun. Yeah, I got to do fighting with Angel. I had a moment where we were filming this on the Paramount lot, where they also filmed all the Star Trek stuff. So one day during lunch, we're sort of sitting outside the stage, and you know, sort of like little like card tables put out, and you're eating your little chicken breast with your plastic fork and knife. You're just like, but we're all dressed as like monsters and stuff. So again, as a nerd, you're just like, this is the greatest day of my life. I'm sitting here with Angel, I'm eating chicken, and all of a sudden, around the corner, up walks Jerry Ryan.
Oh my God!
Yeah. And she's making a direct beeline straight towards David Boreanaz.
Of course she is.
And she goes, David, Jerry Ryan, Voyager. And sticks out her hand. And I'm like, oh my God. 7 of 9 is meeting Angel right now, and I'm here at Ground Zero. And she was just like very sweet, but all business. And apparently her brother was in town and was a big Buffy fan. Mm-hmm. And so she just sort of, you know, rode the shoulders of, we are both genre characters, so we're meeting now.
Was she dressed in her...
No, she was dressed in regular clothes. No, had she been dressed as 7 of 9, my brain would have exploded. I would have lost my fucking shit.
How is Boreanaz?
Nice.
Is he all right?
He was intense, but like he had to do fighting and stuff like that. Like he was nice. He was clearly really close with everybody on the crew. I don't know if it was a lot of the same crew from Buffy on his show as well, but like everybody on the crew really liked him. He seemed very easy going and stuff like that.
Did you get to meet Drew Goddard or
no? I met
or Steve the Knight
in my audition. I met Joss Whedon, and then the other guy. It's not Drew Goddard, who maybe he helped create the Angel character. I don't know, but there was another guy who was like co-creator with Joss Whedon on Angel.
David Fury?
It might have been. I don't remember his name.
I was meeting Joss. I got to meet him once.
It was at an audition, so it's not. It's when I say meet, it's not exactly like a meet. It was like I walked into a room, and it was the casting director and the two of them.
Were you a fan already of?
Oh yeah.
Buffy and
stuff?
Sure.
Yeah. I knew what
was
it was.
Was this the first season of Angel?
Yeah, it was the first season, and so as an actor, it's rare because I was like, oh, I actually know what this show is because it was a spin-off from Buffy. You know, normally when you audition for stuff, especially in the first season, you don't know what it is. Yeah. You're like, it's a law show or doctors or something. But like Angel's like, oh, I know exactly what this is. Yeah, so they were there in the audition, and I remember just having that really strange moment, like, because it was a funny character, so you're trying to get laughs, and so you do it once, and Joss Whedon is just sitting there, not being a jerk, but he's just, I'm sure, just how he is in it. He's just sitting there, just kind of watching, no real reaction, not a goon at all, but just sort of
thinking.
Just sort of stone faced. And the other guy is cracking up, going, "Oh, this is great!" And so I'm kind of like, "Huh?" But you can't help but keep looking back at Joss Whedon and be like, "Daddy,
approval,
Dad,
approval, please.
How'd I do? How'd I do?" And so so I walked out of the audition going, "Well, that one guy really liked me." I don't know though.
You got it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I got it. Oh yeah.
You got it. That was pretty cool.
Oh, so much fun.
Well, it's
so
funny because you did an episode of House.
Yes.
Where I believe your genitals.
My scrotum.
Your scrotum explodes.
Yes. That was.
Can I just say how I saw that? I think I was at a bar or something.
I bet you were at I.O.
At I.O.
Because it happened to air a night. I remember being at I.O. with a bunch of people, like we were in between shows, and there's like a little TV up above the bar. And I remember walking out there and be like, "Oh, that thing is on," and people be like, "Woo!" And then all of a sudden, like, my scrotum explodes and there's blood everywhere. And I remember the whole room just being like, "Whoa!" And people being upset with me.
Did I just see that? Did that happen?
Oh, that should not have been on television. It definitely should not have been on television.
What happens? You auditioned for something. Did you know that was going to happen in your audition?
Yes. And because, they give you 3 or 4 scenes sort of cobbled together. And so one of them, you see in the stage direction, his scrotum explodes. And so you're sort of sitting there out in the hallway with a row of other guys all auditioning for men whose scrotum explodes. And because you're in, these sort of office-y type buildings, the walls are not particularly soundproof.
Right.
So you're sitting there.
No good insulation.
Yeah, and so you can't really hear what everybody's doing, so you're kind of going, like, okay, so he's on the scrotum explode scene. Some other guy goes, yeah, and I had to do it twice.
There's 2 takes.
Well, this is on the audition. The first time I did it the way I thought it would be okay, and I remember the producer being like, just kind of leaning forward and being really nice about it, but being like, your scrotum is exploding. So really, and I was like, I can't be too big. He's like, right, just go for it. So I remember I just shrieked. I tried to without going too long, because you're trying to be like, well, I have no point of reference for this.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, so it was
it's based on something.
Spoiler, it was a made-up thing.
Oh, it was a made-up thing.
I thought the episode I was on, spoiler, I feel obliged to do that. No one cares. The episode I was on was the season 2 finale. And so to make it an extra good mystery, right at the beginning of the episode, House gets shot.
Right.
And so what you don't know is from the moment he gets shot, the rest of the episode is all in his brain, unconscious.
Okay.
But they play it like it's still real. So he's already met me with a swollen tongue. And from that point on in the episode, everything else in my body at some point keeps swelling up and bursting. So the only thing that's quote-unquote real is my giant swollen tongue.
Yes. When
my eye swells up and pops out of my head on camera, it's gross. Yeah, and then my scrotum.
Welcome to showbiz.
Woo!
Show business. Well, you mentioned David Allen Greer earlier, and you did a Thank God You're Here show.
Oh, yeah?
Which didn't last long, but I watched it.
Oh, cool. Thanks, man.
Of course. Anything improv I want to see.
Yeah.
So this was an interesting setup. So you have made sets.
Yeah. It's sort of like a TV version of the actor's nightmare. Do you know what that is?
No.
Actor's nightmare it's just a dream that a lot of times actors have where it's like you have a dream that you are in a play or in a show, but you don't know what it is. But it's literally like you're like walking on stage and you're going, I don't know. And they're like, figure it out. You're the star of the show. So basically it was a celebrity knows that they're going to be on this show. And they're basically brought to a door by the host, David Allen Greer. He says, you're going to walk through this door. The first thing you're going to hear is someone saying, thank God you're here. And from that point on, you have to figure out who you are. And you are the main character of a scene.
Who is the most game, celebrity-wise?
We had a lot of really game celebrities. The one who really set the bar was the first one, was Bryan Cranston. It was obviously before Breaking Bad, after Malcolm in the Middle. He had to be like a Mick Jagger, like British rock and roll star. He basically walks into a recording studio where there were like somebody playing his girlfriend, and then another actress reveals she is also his girlfriend, so he has to explain that. And then
you, as the improvisers, know certain things already?
We were given it's weird because all the auditioning for that show was improvising. It was all improvising, but the actual mechanics of the show was a script that we were allowed to improvise to bring them right back to the thing. But I think in order to make it work for sort of the network TV people, they didn't want us to improvise scenes because that was like, what if it doesn't go well? Mm-hmm. So it really was written as a sketch where there were all kinds of tee-ups where it was sort of like, hey, like with Cranston, we're like, hey, sing that hit. And they'd have a playback track. And so he had to improvise like a 30-second song. And he just went for it. It was the best. Like he kissed like the groupie girl, he kisses me, like he just went for it. And it's the thing about improv, it's like you don't have to get it right, just do it. Like he he just committed to it. I don't know, like he went for like a deep Cockney sort of.
He had an improv background too.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It shows because he was great. And I mean, Jennifer Coolidge was on an episode. That was like a dream come true to get to do a thing with her. There were so many. Fred Willard was on an episode. Jason Alexander,
Harlan Williams, right?
Yeah. There were a ton of really fun people.
I got to meet Bryan Cranston. Deborah presented at I think a Directors Guild Awards or something.
Okay.
And we were at a table with other presenters, one being Bryan Cranston.
Wow.
And we sat right next to him and his wife.
Was it nice?
He was so, both of them were really cool. And to my right was Henry Fonda.
What?
And across from me was Amber Heard.
Come on.
And and I'm blanking on her name. Citizen Ruth.
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern.
Yeah.
It was quite a table. I was like, this is our table.
That was heavy hitters.
What the hell? What's happening here?
Wow, how exciting is that?
Pretty cool.
Henry Fonda?
Henry Fonda to my right.
Really? Did you get to talk to him at all?
A little bit. He was kind. He let me take a picture with him, and Bryan Cranston was kind too. He let me take a picture. I was like, him and his wife were leaving early, and I was like, "Can I just get a quick picture, please?" Mm-hmm. They were like, "Okay."
Oh, EJ, you and your continuing series of amazing stories, I suppose. Wow, that's exciting.
I love it. So are you performing now? Are you doing comedy sports stuff regularly? What are you doing?
I'm not really doing anything regular. I was. I'm trying to think, what's my regular gig right now? I need to get a regular gig right now in terms of live performing.
Yeah.
I think basically once we started having kids, you just your time is gone, and their kids are now old enough that I could probably get back into a regular swing of things. I just got to figure out what that would be. It's weird because it's like I don't really want to. I don't want to be on a Herald team, not because I don't want to be on a Herald team, but just the commitment of like a regular rehearsal and regular shows.
Can't rehearse.
Well,
it's too late. We're too old now.
Well, the big thing is Andrew Daly said to me that he makes a standing rule. Like he does not do a show if the start time is past 9 p.m. And I was like, pretty good. That's a pretty good one to adopt because especially like at Ione, I'm sure UCB and stuff too. It's like it's 11 o'clock. Yeah. Midnight. I've done the Tournament of Nerds a couple times at UCB. I love that show. Midnight. But it's midnight, and it is at least a 2-hour show.
Oh my god!
So you're out of there.
I've never gone to it because it's at midnight.
You go once.
I want to just go. And Draco goes there a lot.
He's one of the main judges. Yeah. I don't know if he's in everyone, but he's in it a ton, and he's great.
I interviewed him a couple weeks ago.
How'd he do?
Great.
Did you talk about the Love Is Love book?
Yep, I got 3 of them right there.
Oh, do you?
I bought 3 of them.
I just bought it. They're sold out everywhere.
I got the first printings, and he signed them for me.
Nice. You should try and sell them to him.
To Mark?
I'm not a great hustler, EJ. No one ever accused me of being real great at tricking people.
No, you're doing good.
Thank you.
Just real quick.
Sure.
I see on your IMDb you did an episode of Bones.
Yes, I did.
Boreanaz. Did you work with him?
Yeah, we had scenes together. He did not remember me.
Did you remind him? Did you say,
I did not. I let that one go.
Okay.
I let that one go. I said to myself, you know what? If it comes up, I will. And it didn't.
Okay.
And I just felt, also because the one I was on, it was a group of us. It was sort of like we all worked at a copy shop together. And so it was clearly one of the 4 of us were the murderer.
Right.
And so all of our scenes were sort of group scenes. And one of the guys was Ben Savage from Girl Meets World.
Fred Savage's brother.
And everybody, because of Girl Meets World, was very excited to talk to me and him. And I didn't really I felt like I'm going to have to actively steer the conversation away from that. And I'd be like, hey, David, maybe like 10 years ago, I think we did it. And I was just like,
I forget it.
Well, because he's Girl Meets World or Boy Meets World. I was like, I want to talk to that guy. Oh, yeah, that was really fun. I was with He was really nice. Yeah, I've been lucky.
You're doing good, sir.
Thank you.
And
Trying to.
You just had an audition before you got here. Is that right? Was it an audition?
Oh no, it was a voice I'm in some holiday specials for Nickelodeon, so I had to do ADR, just voiceover stuff for those. Yeah. Oh, EJ, look out! There's a Valentine special coming up. There's a summer break special coming up. I know you watch all the Nickelodeon shows.
I watch only yours.
Oh well.
How far ahead do you tape?
We're in a weird place now because we didn't know how long, like I think I said before, like we didn't know how long the fourth season was going to go. So we have shot what we thought was going to be the whole fourth season, which including like a finale. And then we got it picked up for an additional 13. So we're now shooting what I guess you would consider like the middle of the season, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
So the ones we're shooting now, I think will be maybe start being on this year, but it might go into next year. I don't know how they.
So did a finale-ish episode air?
No, we've shot. Well, like there was a season 1 finale, a season 2 finale, but as we get into like when we shot the season 3 finale, we shot a version of it where it was the series finale.
Right.
And then when we got picked up for season 4, the first thing we did when we came back for season 4 was reshoot a chunk of that.
I see.
So we have shot, I guess it potentially would be the series finale. But if we make more, I wouldn't be surprised if they changed it up again.
Yes. Show business.
Yeah. But believe me, if I could make this show forever, I would.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's
it's great.
I'm trying to be. I learned a lesson from my dad is like trying to just be very present. Like that's something he always said to me. It was like, just really, whatever room you're in, be in that room.
Enjoy the moment. That's a good lesson.
I think so.
It's a good lesson.
I think so.
Well, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad we get to catch up.
Me too. And do you want to plug Twitter or an Instagram or anything like that?
Sure. You can find me on both Twitter and Instagram. I am Mr. Mr. Chris Tallman. Mr. Chris Tallman on both Twitter and Instagram.
Go follow him. You have 100,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive.
Thank you. I think that is all thanks to the amazing Thundermans fans. I was not on social media before the show. It seemed confusing to me.
And yet, you met your wife through social media.
Well, Friendster.
Friendster was social media.
Let's Okay, sure.
Okay.
Sure. That's true. But I didn't have Twitter. I didn't have Instagram. Sure. I was on like Facebook and stuff like that. But that's like a yearbook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just kind of like going, oh, sure, I'll come see your improv show.
Never.
Oh, look at your cool thing. It's like that.
I got you.
Yeah.
I wasn't accusing you of anything.
Felt accusatory.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Felt accusatory.
My apologies.
Sorry, no, I overreacted. Oh, why? Oh my God! If you were Steve Agee this whole time, that would be incredible. That would be incredible.
Well, thanks for being here, Chris. Good to see you.
You too.
There you go. That was my talk with Chris Tallman. Thanks so much, Chris, for coming and talking with me and being so open. Really appreciate it. It's good to see you and talk with you. So go support Chris. Check out the Thundermans on Nickelodeon and follow him on all the social medias and all that good stuff. As for me, you can follow me again on Twitter at EJ Scott Podcast, at EJ Podcast, and EJScott.com, EJ Scott 1106 on Instagram, crowdrise.com/7on7 for the charities, and Running Blind documentary on iTunes, Google Play, or Amazon. There you have it. Go subscribe on iTunes. Listen to my other podcasts. I got a bunch of good ones coming up, and I have a bunch of good ones in the past. So go check those out. Thanks so much. See you next time.